The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Thursday edition of Running Point, presented by get your thing here.
Product placement. Yeah.
Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a brand new or slightly used automobile, do check out the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig here. You had your second COVID shot.
I did.
Did you grow an extra finger?
No, I'm not a pod person yet, so
Okay.
yeah, we're all good.
All right, that's good. You didn't. You said you might have had a kind of a
few
little
side
bit
effects,
of a
arm
yeah.
soreness and a little bit of chills every now and then, but take some ibuprofen, you'll be fine. It's not
Okay.
that bad.
You don't have suicidal basketball tendencies, do
No.
you? Okay. All right. There's basketball tendencies are going to be heard of today. Jeff Fishel, the head basketball coach, the girls coach over at South Range, he of the district championship team.
Bound, yep.
Their district championship bound, where they will be playing Brookfield. And I got to give Coach Forsyth all the credit in the world. He had never beaten Crestview before.
What a time to do it.
And he finally got the job done. Now, this smacks of last year. If you remember, last year at this time, it was Liberty that was clowning Crestview. And Crestview came up in the district semifinals after losing both times to Liberty and said, "We've about had enough of your stuff," and we knocked you off, and went on to face South Range. Brookfield turned the tables on Crestview last night. Crestview beat them twice convincingly in both games, even though the final score was not indicated. And Coach Forsyth got their team together, and they played well last night.
Well, they shut down Krista Perry, which is something that they did not
Yes.
do in the first two games, and they held her to 9 points, and that's going to be hard for the Rebels to operate when she's not scoring in double figures. Plus, Sophia Hook had a double-double, so that's always, a feather in the cap that'll help you win games.
Yeah, that was huge. That was definitely huge. I'll tell you what, our area did quite well in girls basketball last night against out-of-town opponents. They did quite well. Now, there were a couple of teams that unfortunately lost, and East Canton knocking off Jackson Milton was one of those games.
I had picked Jackson Milton to get to the championship game. I thought they had a legitimate shot, and they fought hard. They just could not overcome East Canton. That's two teams that East Canton has beaten where you feel like, oh, man, they just had their chances, and East Canton keeps coming out on top against teams that have chances to beat them.
Now, you saw a really good game last night in Poland between Poland and West Geauga. And truth be told, West Geauga could have very easily won this game in regulation.
I told you off the air that 99 times out of 100, Poland loses that game. Anyone in that situation loses that game. West Geauga was up 3. They had the ball. They were inbounding it on their side of the court, right in front of their bench. And with 6.7 seconds to go, if you get the ball in, Poland has to foul you immediately. And then if you hit a free throw, game over. It's done. But Mary Brandt came up with, you called it a steal. I think it kind of went off her foot as she cut in front of the person that the inbound pass was intended for. The ball skipped down the court. She ran it down, scooped it up, pulled up for a 3 at the buzzer to send Poland into overtime, and then they dominated the overtime period.
Yeah, that was one of those things where it was completely deflating for West Geauga, and you knew the game was over as soon as Mary hit the shot.
There's just no coming back from that. And, to start overtime, both teams traded old-fashioned three-point plays. So it was tied at 67, and then Poland ended the overtime period on an 11-0 run.
Yeah, solid win. Just a solid win for Poland. They will be playing Marlington and not West Branch. You and I both wanted to see West Branch go out and take care of Marlington, but boy, I'll tell you what, you beat a team twice in the regular season. That's impressive enough. Beat them a third time. Props to Marlington. That's an incredible job by Marlington.
Give West Branch a lot of credit, though. They didn't die because they were down by a lot with maybe 5 minutes to go in the game, and all of a sudden I look at the score, and it's all of a sudden 58-53. And I'm thinking, whoa, what happened? They went on an 11-0 run to end the game, trying to get back into Marlington's, trying to get them in striking distance. They just could not. They didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
Not enough time to come back from that.
Salem in the other D2 game, they outscored Kenston 12-3 in the third quarter en route to a 45-36 victory. Salem's just one of those teams that are going to play solid defense. They'll wind up playing Perry, who knocked off Canton South last night, denying an all-EBC district championship game. But I love Salem's chances in this game.
Also denying Salem's chances to host.
This is true.
That's a heck of a road trip to Perry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a 2-hour bus ride.
Well,
an hour and a half in the car probably translates into
about 2 hours on the bus.
Ride.
Yeah, because the buses don't seem to come up to speed.
You can't
quickly
go all
enough.
the way up to highway speed on a bus.
No.
You got to be responsible.
Well, I mean, unless of course you're Sandra Bullock in that movie, where a bomb's on the bus. We don't obviously want to subscribe to that, but I'm just saying.
Only Ron would bring up Speed.
It was a great movie.
It was a good movie.
It was a solid movie. Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves. It was a solid movie. Okay, so Salem is going to be playing Perry. Poland will be playing Marlington. So there's 2 games in which out-of-town teams are going to be involved. Division III, no out-of-town teams involved. We're guaranteed to have 2 teams going into. Actually, no, I take that back. Garfield is
technically.
Technically,
they're close. They're coming into the MVAC next year.
Yes.
So
technically, right now they're out of town. Next year they're not going to be out of town.
That's a rematch of last year's district championship, by the way.
And Gerritsville, Garfield, and Champion will be a great game. I'm a bit surprised Champion beat Ursuline, even though it was on Champion's floor. I am a bit surprised that Champion knocked off Ursuline.
But when you win the way Champion won in the last round, it kind of gives you a lot of momentum. And obviously, it was just a little bit too much for Ursuline to handle. And also, Ursuline has made a bad habit this year of not finishing games. I don't know what the breakdown. I don't know if they had a lead or what. But late game situations in Ursuline has been a real struggle this season. There's been a lot of games where they should have won down the stretch. They just didn't make the plays. So, you lose a game by 4. That probably tells you that you're not making all the plays down the stretch that you should.
Division 4, Newton Falls is at McDonald, while East Canton will travel to Western Reserve. East Canton is a very interesting team. They got past Leetonia. In a game, the Bears probably could have upset East Canton. And then East Canton, they wound up in a dogfight after 3 quarters. Jackson Milton was actually leading the ball game. They were leading comfortably. They were up by 2. I beg your pardon. After the end of the third quarter, and that's because East Canton had outscored Jackson Milton 12-2 in the first quarter, and then Jackson Milton in the middle 2 quarters outscored East Canton 28-16. So they had a 30-28 lead at the end of the third quarter, and East Canton just went on a tear in the fourth quarter and took care of business.
They said no mas.
Yeah.
No mas is Jackson Milton.
I don't.
They're a team that just knows how to win. That's the thing is. I mean, there's some teams that just don't have all the talent in the world, but they have the winning mentality. They have the winning culture, and they just know how to win games. And they're going to make game-winning plays, and they're going to have to make a lot of them against Western Reserve.
I don't know if they match up with Danny Volatich.
No one does. I mean, there aren't a lot of people that do. Molly Howard and the Howard girls do. Then you might see a couple. Vaudeville has a post in regionals that will match up with her, but not a lot of people can match up with Danny Volatich.
So in this particular case, I mean, I don't know if East Canton runs his own defense or not. I've not seen these kids play. Do you just basically pack in his own defense and dare Western Reserve to beat you without Danny Volatich?
You have to take Danny away first because that's where they get their easiest points. Offensive rebounds, layups. I mean, they're a great 3-point shooting team, but that's still a lower percentage than layups. So you got to take away Danny first and then try to take away the guards as you see fit. But number one priority when you're playing Western Reserve is one, try to stop passes from coming inside to Volatich, and then two, keep Volatich off the offensive glass so she can't just get the putback. So easier said than done, but that's going to be the game plan. Box her out and try to stay in front of her so those entry passes won't go in so easily.
Now, last night, Maplewood had the thought, all right, we're going to let Volatich get hers, and we'll try to stop everyone else. Well, Volatich scored 29 points. The problem is the rest of the team scored 28,
right?
And that's where you're going to run into some problems. If you're going to say, okay, Danny, get yours, we're going to stop your running mates and make sure the running mates only score 15 points or less. You got to get your points if you're going to let Volatich score 25 to 30 and you hold the rest of the team to 15 points. All right, that's anywhere from 40 to 45 points you're giving up. Now you got to make sure that you're going to be able to score at least 46 to get the job done.
The other thing is, I think Western Reserve's defense is so underrated because of all the things they do well in offense, but they play spectacular defense in the half court. So they're hard to score against. So even if you hold Danny to, let's say, 29 and the rest of the team scores 20, you're going to have a tough time getting to 50. So you got to also find ways to score on offense.
Yeah, this will be an interesting D4 district championship game. Both teams. I mean, Newton Falls and East Canton are both going to be significant underdogs. No disrespect to either program. They will be significant underdogs in the district championship game.
Newton Falls needs to slow the game down. They cannot get into a running match with McDonald because McDonald loves to run. They love to speed the game up, and if you get into that game, if you're Newton Falls, they just don't have the athletes to compete in that kind of tempo game.
Now, Newton Falls did a really nice job beating Bristol last night, 36-22, and they laid down some serious defense.
I'm going to just make a bold statement and say you're going to have to score more than 36 points to beat McDonald.
You probably will have to do that. Now, again, if you slow the game down and hang on to the ball and, do some backdoor cuts and whatnot and force McDonald to play your tempo, I'm not saying that they can. I'm saying they have a shot if they force McDonald to play their style of basketball.
Right.
But it's easier said than done. That's going to be tough.
The one thing, to start the tempo, you have to stay away from live ball turnovers. They give McDonald runouts.
Yes.
Then I would not dare press them because they'll run right by you. Newton Falls does play a lot of zone, but I'd extend the zone up a little bit, get some pressure on the guards, and then try to, as you might, to slow down the Howard girls. It's a tall task for Newton Falls.
Yeah, it will be an interesting a couple of games in D4 for sure. Division 3. South Range eliminated East Palestine last night. It looked like it was going to be a close game for a while, and then South Range decided to put on the gas.
Well, I saw the first score update I saw was 38-9.
I think the first quarter was 17-8, 17-9, something like that. And then they just put on the gas.
It's hard to play with South. When you're a team like East Palestine, you got the athletes. They came in with a lot of grit and fight, but it's hard to play with South Range for 4 quarters at that tempo. So, and they didn't have anyone that could really slow down Izzy Lamparty. and that came back to bite them.
Well, here's the thing, and I'll be interested to see what Brookfield does against South Range. Now, obviously, Brookfield does have a really good player in Sophia Hook,
yes.
and she got hers last night in a big way.
13 points and 10 rebounds, I believe.
She had more. She had 24
points, 10,
yeah.
10, but double.
Yeah, she had 17 of those, I believe, in the first half.
What makes her so special, though, you've seen it. She can do it off the dribble.
Yeah.
She doesn't need like a ball screen. She doesn't need to catch and shoot. She can just step in, step you back, and hit a three on the step back off the dribble.
Yeah, she's a very talented player, and again, Brookfield 18-3 on the campaign. 2 of those losses came to Crestview. The problem with Brookfield, and I'll be curious to see what Coach Forsyth, and I'm sure that neither coach is going to give away their game plan.
We get to poke them a little bit, see if they leak out a little bit of it,
But how do you hold Lombardi accountable? Izzy scored 30 last night in the victory, and she got a little bit of help from Alexis Giles, who scored 18 points last night. So
what you do is you dive into the Poland film and you figure out how Poland, who's not really big size-wise, held Izzy Lombardi to 5 points. You try to break that down and you try to emulate it as best you can, because Jackie Grisdale in that defense really shut down Izzy Lombardi. So you got to watch that film.
Do you dare put Sophia Hook on Izzy Lombardi and just say, look, I understand, we're going to sacrifice some of your points, because if you're playing a high-profile player and you're playing defense, that is going to really exhaust you. So do you take away some of that?
I would play maybe
box and one?
A little exotic zone where you can trap the guards.
Yeah.
Because really, South Range has, in my one 3-point shooter that can hurt you, and that's Lexi Giles. And she's not like the unbelievable 3-point shooter where she's shooting like 45-50% from 3. So she can get hot, but she can also go a game without hitting the 3. So I would just make sure that to take away Izzy Lombardi's driving and make her shoot those mid-range jump shots. I mean, she's good at them, but like I said with Danny Vuletic, you would rather have her shoot the higher percentage shots than go in for layups. So you have to do whatever you can to
keep her out of the paint.
Because she drives so well. You got to keep body in front of her. You got to move your feet, and you got to try to make sure that you keep her out of the lane. You can also, because you're undersized, you can really move your feet well, get in front of her, maybe draw some offensive fouls and get her into foul trouble.
But Mara Hallis drew three charges against Brookfield last night, so it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Izzy Lombardi does have sometimes the ability to kind of go a little bit out of control on the drive. So if you get in front of her and draw that charge, you might be able to get her into foul trouble, and that would be really interesting to see what adjustments South Range would make if that does happen.
Sophia Hook is kind of the same way, where on occasions if you're playing some aggressive defense, and aggressive by not using your hands, but aggressive in that you're up in their face, she has a tendency to dip her shoulder down or to use the free hand, and she has been called for a few offensive
step back
fouls.
Sometimes she gets a little push off on that step back to get some space between her and the defender. And what she does really well is she doesn't always extend her arm, but she still gets the little push.
Yeah.
So if you extend your arm, you're getting called almost every time because it's visible. You get to see it.
Sure.
But if you just do like one of these, where you're not really extending, sometimes you can really get away with it.
And it's like the same thing using your forearm, your free forearm, as long as it's below the waist, you can do this. Yeah. But if you're up here going like this, you're going to get called all night. All day, all night. It is what it is.
The thing that Brookfield's going to run into, and I think this was when I talked about East Palestine, they had the athletes, they had the talent, really. They have really good shooters, but the problem with East Palestine, and I think the problem is going to be for Brookfield, so many of the teams on their schedule run a zone defense. So that's where they get their shots out of versus zone. South Range is going to press you and match you up man-to-man and lock you down. And a lot of these teams just aren't used to playing defenses that do that. So they just kind of get a little shell-shocked, and there are going to be a lot of turnovers.
And it's not like it's trapping. They're
it's just
legitimately
right matchup.
one-on-one. You better find a way
Right.
to either get a pick, screen, or do something else.
That's why I wish more teams played more man-to-man defense, because it'll prepare you for the elite teams that you play later in your schedule. If East Palestine played a few more teams that played man-to-man straight-up defense, they might have been a little bit more competitive against South Range. Not saying that would have made them all of a sudden good enough to win, but it wouldn't have been 70-25.
Yeah. It's defense to me, and I love man-to-man or help-man defense, where you are playing man, but you have a zone where you're guarding, and it's kind of a combination of man and zone. Right. But help man is pretty nice.
It's a matchup zone.
Exactly.
And, most teams in this area that play zone are doing it to hide discrepancies in their defensive ability. There aren't too many teams in this area that play zone because they're really good at playing zone and they thrive off of it. Marlington is one of those teams. They play a zone because that's what they're really good at. They rotate so well, and their zone defense is legit. A lot of teams, though, just play zone just to hide defensive of shortcomings. And zone can do that.
And it's so I hate to sound like the person that spoils everyone's fun, but one of the reasons why, for me, I think it's so important for kids once they're beginning to learn how to play the game of basketball, I'm strictly putting that team in a man-to-man defense or a help man, but it's going to be man-to-man or help man, and I'm not going to go into a zone defense until you get into high school, because I can teach a zone defense pretty simple in high school, but you got to be able to get kids to move their feet and buy into playing man-to-man defense, because that's a really important part of the game.
One of the things I did when I was coaching 8th grade, and our varsity coach at the time loved running the 2-3 zone. He called it Syracuse. He ran it a lot. So what I did to teach them the zone is I took the middle girl out with this 4 girls on the floor. That does wonders to get the girls to rotate, because you don't have that safety net inside. So what I told them is, like, this isn't about not letting them score. They're going to score because you're one man down. This is about you guys rotating better because you don't have that safety net down below guarding the bucket.
So you did that during games?
No, during practice.
Oh, okay.
When we were implementing the zone, I would take the middle out.
Gotcha.
And have everyone else just rotate the way
Gotcha. Yeah, that's just to me. I would just as soon let kids play man-to-man exclusively and say, look, you can learn how to play a zone defense in high school, but we have to teach you how to play man-to-man defense, because if you don't play man in junior high, how in the world are you going to be able to play it in high school? That's a no-brainer.
These defensive drills, you don't see them anymore in the youth basketball, where they're just moving their feet and trying to play defense with their feet. You don't see them a lot. And then kids come into 7th and 8th grade and they don't know how to play man-to-man defense, moving their feet and using their feet to defend. They use their hands.
Yeah. I had a kid who will remain nameless, but he will be a really good basketball player in high school. Fouled an awful lot. So in practice, I said, put your arms behind your back.
Right.
He goes, what are you talking about? I said, put your arms behind your back. I said, now defend him. Well, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Move your feet. Just keep your body in front of that person. That's how you're going to play defense.
Tie their hands together like this.
Yeah.
So they can't bring them down.
Well, then you'd have all the parents angry as hell at you, and you'd be like, "What the hell did you do to my kid? He's got rope burns on his hands." Well, he needs to play some better defense. So we did a couple of things
you
here.
You got to keep your hands up, and if I have to force you to have your hands up, then I'll do it.
Yeah. It's like you're doing some very interesting things to teach the kids how to play defense. Well, as long as they're playing defense, that's all that matters. We're going to take a timeout. On the other side, we will hear from the head basketball coach at South Range. He has a date in the district championship game with the Brookfield Warriors. He is Jeff Fishel, and he is coming up in just a bit. Stick around.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Local teams are heating up the hardwoods, and you can keep up with all the action on and off the court with Five Guys Hoop News all season long on 21 Sports.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig, awaiting the head basketball coach of the South Range Raiders, Jeff Fishel. We'll talk some district championship basketball as South Range will be hosting Brookfield for the district championship.
I might be a fish out of water. Here it is.
Indeed. All right, let's go to the phone lines right now. Coach Fishel, is this you?
Yes, sir.
All righty. How goes it, my brother?
It's going well. It's nice to be on with you guys, and hope you guys are doing well.
Well, we're doing well, but we're not doing as well as you are. I mean, you got a team in the district championship game, one game away from going back to the regionals for another year.
Well, I tell you what, I really enjoyed listening to you guys talk about man-to-man defense. I think I could listen to sports talk radio about man-to-man defense all day. So I enjoyed that, and I enjoy your guys' take on that. And, excited for this opportunity on Saturday.
Okay, let me ask you, because so many high school coaches have different philosophies on this. With the South Range basketball program, you took over a really, really successful program with Coach Matizzi there. What have you installed for your youth coaches? What have you told them in regards to kids playing man-to-man defense at an early age?
Well, it's our major focus, and if they come across the need to play some zone, we'll let them, but that's basically the only thing we want them doing is playing man-to-man defense. And, we break it down from the beginning with the fundamentals, a proper stance, and then leading with the proper foot, and we just try to build on that as they get older and a little bit more athletic.
We were talking about some creative ways to kind of instill the zone defense and the man defense in the youth. What kind of drills do you find that work when trying to instill man-to-man defense in the youth players?
Well, I think the number one thing we focus on are different actions that are popular that offenses run. Pick and rolls, pass and cut, pass and screen away. And so a lot of the drills that we do are the fundamental basis of how we'll defend those. And what that does is we don't necessarily have to have a scouting report per se for what our opponents will run against us, because all the plays involve the same actions, and we know how we'll defend particular actions within a play. So that helps us, and when our youth players can learn how to defend a cut by jumping to the ball and not getting cut over top of, that's a great building block to have a great man-to-man defense when they get older.
Okay, now, Coach, obviously the biggest part of playing defense is you must be able to communicate, especially if someone's about to throw a pick your way. Defensive players on the floor have to talk with each other, and they have to communicate. And it drives me nuts trying to tell kids that normally talk during practice and normally talk during classrooms and normally talk. But when you're on the basketball floor, they suddenly become shy kids. I'm like, listen, just talk out there and tell everyone what is expected. It drives me nuts when I don't hear people talking on defense because it's so important.
Yeah, every game we put on the board ELO, which stands for early, loud, and often, which means we better be talking early in a possession, we better be loud enough that we can hear it, and it better be often so we don't forget it. And, every once in a while you'll see somebody forget or be late on calling out a screen, and one of our girls will get hammered. And, when that happens, it's obvious that you didn't communicate and kind of put you on an island with a spotlight on you. So we've done a really good job all season long of communicating the right way on defense. And, it's one of the strengths that we have that make us a better defensive team. And I think, regardless of what type of defense you're in, the more you talk, the better you are on D.
Ron talked earlier about the success of this program even before you took over. This is I believe it's the 6th district championship game the Rangers are going to play in the last 8 years. And if you won, it would be the 5th district championship in those 8 years that you guys have won. What's it kind of like now in your second year taking over a program that had such established success and just being able to build on that?
Well, I think it's the standard that's kind of been here for a while, and it's fun to be a part of. And this time of year, when the pressure starts building up a little bit, that enjoyment kind of comes because you get that flow, the blood flowing a little bit, and the adrenaline's going a little bit more. And you guys know this. I'm a lifelong Raider, and it's a true blessing for me to be the head of this program with the rich tradition that it has. And so this is a fun ride for me. and we're just making sure that we stay focused and, give the girls every opportunity that we can to put them in a successful situation on Saturday.
You kind of answered the question that I was going to ask, which is it begs an obvious answer. I mean, it's so much better when you're emotionally involved in this, not just as a coach, but as someone that graduated from this school. It just means that much more.
Yeah, it is something that I grew up with and enjoyed as a fan, so to speak. And so, at this point, when things like that happen, I've been able to kind of step back and look at things from a fan's point of view and just enjoy this and say, I remember how much fun it was watching these girls win in the past, and the fact that I'm part of it now, it's just, obviously, like you said, Ron, it's very enjoyable, and it's a pretty neat experience for me personally.
Now, your first couple of tournament games so far have been lopsided. That you've been playing teams that have lacked on talent-wise compared to you guys. When you look at games like that, obviously it gives you time to put young players in and give them valuable tournament experience for years to come. But is it also a chance to kind of dive into the film and see how well the team is executing the really small things that need to happen no matter who you're playing or how big the talent gap is? Is this an opportunity where you can really dive into film and pick it apart with the little things during these kind of games?
We always say that we're preparing for the best team on our schedule. And so when we're playing teams early in a tournament that, without being disrespectful, we basically know before the game that if something goofy doesn't happen, we're going to win the game. We want to make sure we use those games as a chance to make sure that we're perfecting what we're trying to perform at. And I think I heard you guys talking the other day that, I was not happy that Mineral Ridge had 10 points in the first half against us. And so what that does is allows us to say, where are we breaking down defensively that we need to fix so that when we play East Palestine, who's got really good guards and can shoot the ball really good, that they don't take advantage of the mistakes we're making. And, you have to look at every game and every practice as a chance to figure out where you can improve at. And we say we've got to fix our weaknesses and enhance our strengths. And so anytime you get a chance to see some stuff on film, you get an opportunity to do that and become a better basketball team.
See, now some folks will look at you and say, wait a second, you just only gave up 10 points. Why the hell are you so upset? But I like the idea that you're not satisfied with something, even though you're up by plenty, you're still not satisfied with the way your kids played. And that to me is that one of the major differences between a team that is a championship caliber team and a team that wants to be championship caliber team. Some folks that want to be that championship caliber team, some programs are going to be more than satisfied with giving up 10 points in the first half. You, on the other hand, you weren't, and that tells me why South Range is a different cut than most of the programs around here.
Yeah, and it wasn't even honestly the 10 points that upset me. It was the breakdowns that we had defensively that allowed the 10 points. I would much rather play defense the way we're supposed to and have them hit some shots with a hand in their face and proper closeouts than play poor defense and have them miss shots. And so when we see things that we're not doing well, whether or not the ball goes in or not, we've got to fix it. And we've got to make sure that we defend each possession the way we're supposed to.
Now, when you look ahead to the district championship game, you got a Brookfield team coming in that, man, they got a big win for their program. Ken Forsyth has not beaten Crestview in his whole coaching career. Finally got that monkey off his back. They beat Crestview to get to this point. When you're playing a team that is carrying so much momentum into this game, is it is there stress on you guys to match that intensity right out of the block?
Well, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but when I got on the phone here and called you guys up, I shut the door here in my office, and my office just so happens to be in Brookfield. So I've known Coach Forsyth for a couple years now, and I know most of their players, and I'm friends with a lot of the families that'll be there cheering those girls on against us on Saturday. And they're a young team, and Coach Forsyth has done a tremendous job building that program and getting them to where they're at now. And as young as they are, that's really impressive. He's done a great job with them, and they're super talented. They're one of the top to bottom most talented rosters that I've seen in my 2 years of coaching. And it's going to be important for us because they're young and hungry to come out early in the first quarter Saturday and match their intensity, because they're going to play really hard and they're going to be really excited.
Sophia Hook obviously is one of the better players, not only in Trumbull County. She won Player of the Year for the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference Gray tier, and that's a pretty good honor considering the fact that Krista Perry is in that same conference and a number of other really, really good ball players. She demands attention. She scored 24 last night against Crestview. She can create her own shot. She's kind of a younger version, 2 years younger to be exact, of Izzy Lamparty.
She's really good, really good. I can't say the word really enough about how good she is. She is a tremendous player, fantastic work ethic, if I could talk. She's in the gym all the time. Tremendous young lady, and they've got a good handful of other girls on that roster who are really good, and propose a real threat to us. I made a mistake last night. I was back and forth between, was I going to stay up late and watch film or get up early and watch film? And I decided to stay up late and watch film. And I'd seen her 3 or 4 games already this year, and I know how good she is and how good they are and how well coached they are. But after watching their film last night, I didn't sleep too good. So definitely understand the challenge ahead of us. And I should have got some shut eye and woke up early to watch film. I had a better night's sleep, because watching her and how good she is and how good her teammates are. They're a tough team.
We talked about this a little bit in your coaches' corners in this season, but for people that don't know, you were a freshman coach for 8 years before you took over this team. And as a freshman coach, every year you get a new team. You don't get the layover. What was it like this year, getting the kids back for a second year and being able to see them grow even more from year to year than you would normally see, brand new freshman class come in for the freshman teams?
Yeah, honestly, I was caught off guard the first week of practice, because I was so used to that freshman, first week, second week, installing from the base, getting in the fundamentals that we need, and resetting that every year. And our first practice this year, I kind of had that plan in place, and I was like, holy crap, we already know how to do this stuff. And so we were able to kind of go to the advanced stuff a lot sooner in the season this year. And the thing of it is, we're still not a flashy team. You talked earlier that we're going to press and we're going to play man-to-man defense, and we're not going to catch anybody by surprise, and we don't do anything too exotic, and we just do things to as close to perfection as we can on a nightly basis at practice to translate to how we're going to perform in a game. And so, being able to just jump into that focus, already having the fundamentals in place, was a huge advantage to us early in the year.
Jeff Fishel, the head basketball coach for the South Range girls basketball program. He joins us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. You brought up freshman basketball, and I can probably count on one hand the amount of teams in Divisions 3 and 4 that only have a freshman basketball team. It seems that most programs have a junior high program. They don't have enough freshman participation, so the freshmen are playing JV ball, and unfortunately, that's yet another reason why South Range is a team that competes for regional championships year in, year out, and other teams are only competing for district championships. How important is it for you as a varsity basketball coach and someone who had coached freshman-only basketball? How important is that to have a freshman-only basketball team as part of a basketball program?
Yeah, we were really excited about that, and it's part of our program. I think this is probably, as far as the South Range girls program, this is probably the biggest year of number of players, grades 9 through 12, that the program's had in quite some time. And I got to give our freshmen credit because at the beginning of the year, we started out, we didn't, for our first 30 practices, we did not have everybody there in any of those practices. We always had 2 girls, 3 girls, sometimes it was 5 or 6 girls in quarantine. And what that did is it changed the rules of our freshmen early on. We needed some, when we went up to Laurel, we had to play freshmen in that game because our roster was decimated with quarantines. And so then we got some girls back, and they became freshman players, and we lost a couple players, so they became JV players. So our freshman girls were at all 3 levels and getting, 3 different levels of playing time at practice. So it was a tough year for them because even though we had great numbers, 23, 24 girls in a program, there are a lot of times where we only had 16 or 17 at practice. And, a couple of those girls in quarantine were the freshmen, so then the freshman schedule type stuff kind of got put off. But they've done a tremendous job battling through just the unknown of every single day of where they're going to be and where they're going to be needed. And the nice thing about that is that experience. Now, when they're sophomores, Coach Bailey, our old soccer coach, always used to say the best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores. And that's just going to help our program be at another level when we get to next year.
I feel like this has turned into a defensive episode. We're talking defense so much. Let's talk about a little bit more about your defense. I think you have such good on-ball defenders, especially Bree Kohler. I mean, you can put her on basically anyone's best player, and she can lock them down pretty well. Talk about some of the things that Bree brings to that defense and the unseen things that she does that don't go into the stat book.
Well, I'm fighting for Bree to get first team All-League, and I started working on it this morning statistically. But she, every single game, has guarded the opposing team's highest scoring player, short of Hoban, just because we weren't putting her on the 6'1" girl. And, looking back, I probably should have, since that 6'1" girl had 47 points against us. But every single game, Bree has held our opponent's leading scorer under their season average, and that's her mentality. This is actually in Bree's 4 years her lowest scoring year, but it's her best defensive year. So Bree doesn't get upset that she only scores 2 or 4 or 5 or 6 points a game. Last night, Jocelyn Fristic had 3 points when we took Bree out of the game middle of the fourth quarter. That was 12 points under Jocelyn's season average. So to us, that's 12 points Bree scored for us. And her mentality there is fantastic. And the way she can pressure the ball, and last night Lexi guarded the Sherry girl bring the ball up the court. But when we can do that, that just helps every other defender know that, hey, our guards aren't going to get beat very easy, so we can be a little bit more aggressive in the passing lanes. And Bree sets that tone for us as a team defense.
Okay, so here's the $1 million question, and I feel like we're talking to the guru of defense right now, Coach. How do you get your kids to buy into the mentality of playing defense in a world in which everyone wants to hit a 3, everyone wants to score 20 points? I know for me it was so difficult to tell a kid, hey, look, if you score 20 but you give up 20, you're wasting your time because you're a net zero. You haven't helped anybody. You've given up just as many points as you've scored, and they look at you like you're speaking a foreign language or something. How have you gotten your kids to go completely on board with playing hardcore in-your-face defense?
Well, I'll give you an interesting stat. So last year, the way we started this when I got the job is I said I want to set the school record for defensive scoring average in a season. And we took that very seriously. And Anthony knows we have what's called our 40-point club. So our goal every game is to hold a team to 40 points or less. And if we do that, we have a little ceremony. We put up a sticker for the 40 club. And so last year we did break this defensive scoring average for a season. And this year we started out, now keep in mind, Laurel had 72 the first game against us. Salem had 54. Obviously, we had the game in overtime with Hoban where they scored 92. And so our defensive scoring average at the beginning of this season was not very good, and it was an afterthought at that point. I checked the numbers this week. We are beating last year's defensive scoring average by 3 points. Last year we averaged 36 against us. This year we're averaging 33 against us, and that's including those games early in the season. And to answer your question, our defense leads to our offense. If you bust your butt on defense, if you get a steal, if we may force them to take a bad shot, we're going to have a chance to outlet and go. So by playing great defense, we get really good looks on offense. And offense is what gets the kids excited. So we kind of reverse that to say, well, let's get excited about defense so that we can take care of the offense.
I know,
really bought into it.
I know you always tell your girls that in tournament time, a win gets you 2 practices and 1 more game, and that's the mentality. It's 2 and 1. So you get 2 more practices on tonight and Friday, and then you get 1 more game on Saturday. What's the practice going to look like tonight and Friday, getting ready for this district championship game? And how much does practice change in tournament time when you have a little bit more time between games?
Well, the first thing we're going to do tonight is work on our man offense. Last night East Palestine played man defense against us, and that's the first time in 8 games that we saw man defense. And still not sure what Coach Forsythe's going to do. If you guys talk to him and he gives you any insight, I'd appreciate the tip. But we've got to shore up our man defense because they like to play man, and if they do that, we need to kind of work the kinks out that we have right now, just because we haven't had to run our man offense short of a couple possessions in a game here or there. So we're going to really focus on that at practice tonight. But what happens now this time of year is kind of your fundamental drills that you do all the time. You do those to warm up, but it's a little bit shorter, and the practices become a lot more mental and focused on the scouting report, and we'll talk about tendencies of what they like to do and keys to what we need to do to be successful. And they're fun practices that way because it's really scouting report oriented, and you're excited because you know that if you scout them well and you do things well and you play well, you get to cut down the nets, and that's a good feeling. And to know how good Brookfield is, we know how focused we're going to need to be and how well we're going to need to play. So I think we'll have 2 good practices, and we'll see what happens.
Now, I know that as a coach, you're not supposed to look ahead, but I'm looking at the other district that is going to be going up against your district. And last night, Elyria Catholic was upset by Warrensville Heights, who will now play Creston Norwayne for a district championship. Norwayne is the 3 seed. Warrensville Heights is the 4 seed. Does that kind of... I don't even know. Were you looking down the road at Elyria Catholic? And if you were, do you have to do a U-turn and look back on this and say, maybe I'm going to have to take a look while preparing for our team to play Brookfield. Now I'm going to have to take a look at Creston Norwayne and Warrensville Heights.
I have not, last year or this year, gotten film on anybody except for our next opponent. And so I had no Brookfield film until after our game last night, and I reached out and I got some Brookfield film, and who I know this, whoever wins our game Saturday, whether they'll play Norwayne or Warrensville Heights, is going to be in for a heck of a battle. And I know how good Brookfield is, and I know how good we are, and so whoever comes out of our district is going to represent our district very well. And, if it's fortunate enough to be us, Saturday afternoon, I'll get some film, and we'll start diving into that. But we're focused on Brookfield and nobody else right now.
Coach, without giving away the farm or giving away too many secrets, can you give us a couple of keys to victory on Saturday, maybe things that you're looking at for your team that we have to do this in order to beat Brookfield? Not game plan, but just things that your team has to do as a key to victory to win on Saturday.
You did not say this as a Russian spy. You are talking English. We're a spy right now, and we will send you to the Russian front, Anthony. Continue, Coach.
There's no secrets, and it's probably the 2 most popular answers any coach is going to give you. We're going to have to win the turnover margin, and we're going to have to win the rebounding margin. Whatever team can figure those 2 things out is going to be in good shape in the fourth quarter on Saturday. Those are the 2 most important keys.
Turnovers and rebounds, and obviously with rebounds, it's all about boxing out as well, and that's just In a lot of ways, it's a lost art. How much practice do you, or how much time do you commit to the art of boxing out in the early practices before the start of the season, Coach?
Well, we spend some time on it. I'm not going to sit here and act like we don't. We've got the 3-on-3, 4-on-4 drill where a coach or somebody will shoot it, and you got to box out and get the rebound, and you can't get it until it hits the floor once, and if you don't get it, you run it down and back. And then we bring in the next 3, and it's 3-on-3 again, and we'll just do that for a while. But our biggest focus is always on our defensive positioning. And if we defend the right way and don't get out of position, that'll put us in good position to box out and be where we need to be for rebounds. So our rebounding focus is a lot more based on positioning than it is specific box outs.
Now, I know at this point, if your team needs extra motivation, then they're in the wrong spot. But is it a little bit of added motivation to say, we do not want Brookfield cutting down the nets in our home gym as a district champion?
Well, let me tell you this. Here's our first level of motivation, and I got a couple. But how about that end of regulation in that Poland game last night? That was unbelievable. And I talked to Coach Blanche last night, and the first thing he said to me is, "Guess what? Some rival network of yours called, and we're game of the week Saturday." So the first thing we're going to tell our girls tonight is that the phone call immediately went to Poland and not us to be the game of the week. So that's going to motivate us. But it's just it's exciting to have that opportunity to do on your home court. And Coach Franklin and I talked before the tip-off of last night's game, and we both agreed that it would have felt more like a tournament game if we were at the Struthers Fieldhouse. And I'm on record saying that, a big part of me almost wishes that we could play this game there, because that's what girls' district championships in this area are, is Struthers Fieldhouse. But we get a very, very unique opportunity to do that on our home court. And if we're able to do that, I think it'll be something that, our girls treasure just a little bit more than if we did it anywhere else.
All right, so let me ask you, the two tournaments smashed together, combined into one. I am on record as saying, okay, once we get to the district tournaments, every district tournament in both districts has to be at one spot. And for me, I'm with you. The Struthers Fieldhouse would be ideal. Now, some other folks are saying, okay, well, let's do it the old-fashioned way where you have one in the Fieldhouse, one somewhere else. Look, I mean, for me, I just think you got to go and put your district tournaments in one location. I understand you're not doing it this year for COVID reasons. I kind of like the idea of two districts combined into one because you get some interesting matchups. But now let's put the district tournaments next year in one location.
Agree, 100%. I'm a fan of the super districts, and I'd be okay if instead of going 1 through 24, two different places, if you put everybody together and seated them top to bottom. However they want to do that, I'm fine with. But let's have a tournament atmosphere and get into a universal venue where everybody's got to play and it feels like a tournament and it's a special experience for the kids.
Now, you talked about Poland a little bit earlier. What's it mean to a league to be in the league of the NE8 and you have two teams in a district championship in that conference, and to be able to represent the NE8, both of you guys, and hopefully both of you guys able to represent the NE8 with a win?
Well, it's fun. Any time that you get to represent something that you're a part of is a great opportunity, and it's something that should be valued and taken seriously, and our girls know that, and Poland's girls know that, and we're going to wave that NE8 flag everywhere we go, and we're proud of that league and how tough that league is in all sports and the way that league represents itself. So it's a cool opportunity, and it's neat to think about that two teams from Mahoney County in the same league are as good as Poland and we are.
Coach, best of luck to you on Saturday against Brookfield, and we will have Coach Forsyth on at 1:30. So if you want to keep your door closed and you want to listen to our broadcast, maybe we can bring out something that you're going to write down and say, oh, okay, thank you very much for the tip.
if he is listening, he's probably calling somebody to tell him to come into my office at 1:30 so that I can't listen, so he can distract me.
There you go.
I think that's what Brookfield's going to do to me the next day and a half. Is I'm just going to have random people come into my office to distract me because they know that I'll try to be sitting on my computer watching film and won't let it happen. But hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. You two are fantastic. Love listening to you guys, and wish you all the best, and hopefully we can chat again real soon.
All right, Coach. Always a pleasure, sir.
All right, we'll see you guys. Thanks.
See you. The coach of the South Range girls basketball program, Jeff Fishel, joining us on the MTV Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline.
Is that like the Patriots mentality where he said he feels slighted because the rival broadcast network that will not be named picked Poland instead of South Range to broadcast on Saturday?
Hey.
I mean, you got to find ways to
Exactly.
when you're up top, you got to find slights, and if that's a slight that Jeff is going to find, props to him.
Well, I would be pissed.
I mean,
I would be. I'd sit back and go, wait a second. What are we, chopped liver? No, that would get me fired up. Absolutely it would. So, props to him and props to the program. It is so difficult to convince kids that defense is something that is incredibly important, and they have done that at South Range. And that's why, Anthony, that's why they're here and everyone else is right here right now.
I mean, he said it. I couldn't believe that. That was the stat of the day so far. They've given up 72, 54, and 92 in one of their first handful of games. And they're still averaging giving up 33 a game.
That's crazy.
Like, wow.
Yeah, that's especially in the conference that they're in. That's incredible.
That's what holding Poland to 25 will do to you. I mean, when they won against Poland, it was 35-25. I mean,
yeah, that's some damn good defense. Woof, man, that's good. All right, Ken Forsyth will be calling in at 1:30. Will he get in touch with the Brookfield head basketball coach? What a great win for Brookfield. And again, this is an upstart team. This is a team that does not lose an awful lot in their graduating class. There's not many seniors on this basketball team. This is a team that is going to be incredibly difficult to deal with for the next year or two after this year in the MVAC gray tier. And, oh, by the way, the gray tier gets company with the Garfield, who's going to make this league that much better because the Lady G-men are in a district championship
against the MVAC team in champions. So, I mean, the MVAC the next year has Garfield champion, Brookfield, and Newton Falls all in district championship games.
Woof.
And that's going to be a conference next season.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, you have Liberty, who is very young and very talented. And, oh, by the way, yes, Crestview loses 3 seniors, but they've got a pretty good amount of talent coming back as well. Yeah, this is going to be a fun conference.
And then the other side, by the way, Jackson Milton doesn't lose anybody.
Yeah.
Waterloo doesn't lose any, except Brook Waldeck. They have one
Lowville
senior.
doesn't lose
Lowville
anybody.
Loses no one, literally. They have no seniors on the roster.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of teams coming back with some experience.
And I
next
think
season.
we forgot to mention LeBray, who does not lose very many people as well. That's a program that gave Crestview all they could handle in the sectional title game this past Saturday. The MVAC is going to be ridiculously good next year.
Talk about the talent. This will be a time to plug in that YSN's Big Dog Player of the Year is up for voting. We have a representative from every YSN school, boys and girls, plus nominees for Coach of the Year. Voting is open now. It's unlimited. Head over to ysnlive.com to vote for your favorite player on boys and girls.
Now, we decided to put out the players.
Right.
And the coach.
Right.
Okay, now it's up to everyone. It's up to YSN Nation to do the voting.
One player from every team. Every team on this wall.
All right, there you go.
So
who did we put up for Letonia? Did we put up Tarrant Ferry?
Tarrant Ferry.
Okay. All right.
And then, yeah. I could bring up the list a little bit later and run down who we have for every team.
Yeah, this will be.
There's a lot of talent on that list. Like, oh my.
Yeah, and then when you're looking at teams that are absolutely stacked, I mean, how do you slight someone?
Right.
I mean that's kind of a tough thing to do.
That was a tough thing. I mean, we've had messages asking, why this person isn't on, why this person isn't on. We get it. There's a lot of deserving people, but we stuck to the model one player per team. That way every team was represented, and we didn't have like 90 players in one list. So we stuck to that model, and it was tough with some teams because they have multiple players that could very well be nominated. And, you got to kind of pick one. We asked all of our broadcasters that have been around the area that have been calling these games, what do you think? And it was a team effort to try to make this list. So while we understand, people might feel slighted, we also want to point out that we really did work hard putting this list together.
It'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see who gets what. And
it's all fan voting too. So
absolutely, it is.
Whoever pops up, it's not based on their stats. It's not based on anything that goes into the film. It's all based on who the fans want as the player of the year. So that's what's really great about Big Dogs is it's all in the hands of the fans. So if they want, Jocelyn Fristic to win Player of the Year, then dang, she's going to win Player of the Year, and that'll be big for that East Palestine program.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I had a friend of mine say, why don't you get everyone involved at YSN to just do all league teams? Okay.
Well, the leagues take care of that. So
they
take that off of our back. But we will probably have an all YSN team that goes deeper into, not the fan vote. It's more of
all of us getting together and objectively trying to get
all YSN first team, all YSN second team.
Yeah.
YSN Player of the Year, not Big Dogs, but YSN.
Yes.
We leave the Big Dogs to the vote, YSN to, because that's what we did with football and volleyball. So I imagine we're as soon as the season wraps up, we're going to have discussions about who we name YSN Player of the Year, who we name YSN Coach of the Year, and you have to stay tuned for that.
So. Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll definitely be fun. We're going to take a timeout. On the other side, we'll take some phone calls before we get Ken Forsyth on, the head basketball coach of the Brookfield Warriors. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open, 330-886-0813.
Ken Forsyth is the MVAC Great Tier Coach of the Year, I believe. So
should be.
I think he was named that.
Yeah, young team that was a contender, and I think they did win the Great Tier Championship this year.
They either won it outright or they had a share of it. I can't remember those standings. So
yeah, it was crazy.
It was so crazy. So many teams pumped up at the top. I feel like Brookfield at least won a share.
Yeah, they were definitely a solid team this year and still are a solid team. They'll be in the district championship against South Range. We'll hear from Ken Forsyth coming up at 1:30. We'll take a timeout, be back with more. It is a Thursday edition of Running Points, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. Back in a bit.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business. 330-886-0813. Coming up at 2 o'clock today, we'll talk YSU women's basketball as the YSU women will be playing the first round of the Horizon League tournament tonight against the Mastodons of Purdue-Fort Wayne. Actually, late this afternoon. Anthony Romo and yours truly will be broadcasting the game from Beagley for ESPN+. Dre Smith will be broadcasting the game on terrestrial radio, and we'll have the voice of the Lady Penguins, Dre Smith, on the air at 2 o'clock to preview the Horizon League tournament where YSU is seated 7th. They get a home game against the Mastodons from Purdue-Fort Wayne, a team they've beaten twice this year.
What game? I haven't looked at the bracket. What game are they lined up with if they win? Who would be there? Do they have someone off a bye?
Nobody knows until we get to which seeds are left. They reseed into the quarterfinals.
As soon as there's not even going to be like you play this the winner of this game next.
Yeah, everything's reseeded. The top seed, which I believe is Wright State, if I'm not mistaken, they will get the lowest seed left in the tournament. I believe Youngstown State is going to either play Green Bay or Milwaukee, judging by how everything goes down.
And that game would be
next week.
Next week.
Yeah, they're really milking this stuff.
Still hosting like they would
No, they would be on the road.
The next No, I mean like the team still hosting.
Yes, they host until the semifinals, and then the semifinals are at the Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis.
We're gonna have to talk again about Neka Obiaiser. I feel like we talk about her every
freshman
week,
of the year, baby.
Here we come.
Yep, freshman of the year, and she was named third team All Horizon League. She and Chelsea Olsen, Mary Dunn was named second team All Horizon League.
There was no one else that could have touched freshman of the year, in my opinion. Looking at the stats and then what Neka Obiaiser put up.
She was named freshman of the year 4 times this year.
Right.
Good Lord. And there were probably 2 or 3 other times where
she could have. Honestly.
Probably could have given her the award, but I think at that point it was like, all right, we got to get someone else involved in this. We can't just give this award out to Neka Obiaiser every single week. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if
eventually it just says freshman of the week, you know who. I mean, come on, we don't understand.
Yeah, but by the same token, I mean, if she puts up the best numbers, you got to give her the award.
Right.
I mean, it's if you're not doing that, then you're cheapening your award.
Freshman of the week, not like new freshman of the week.
Yeah. Well, you've kind of had this a lot, and we don't want. No, screw that.
Can you imagine if the OHSA did that to like Berlin Highland? You've been to the state a lot. We're going to let somebody else do it.
You guys have been here. No, we're going to let someone else. No, I don't think so. That's not going to happen. By the way, you had said something off the air that Berlin Highland was...
I can't confirm this, but I think that their head coach went to South Range last night to watch that game. He put up a tweet that he said all 4 of his assistants went to different places in the state. And the screenshot of where he was going, the road, like doing the investigative, I feel like I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
But he was going to Northeast Ohio, and I feel like if you're going to, you either going to Champion Ursuline or you're going to South Range.
Yeah,
Palestine.
And it kind of looked a little bit like
it feels like, you know,
this looks like Route 46.
Right.
My guess is you're in South Range.
Who do you think is a better chance to see Highland in the States? South Range. I'm sorry, Champion. It's just not a slight. But
now that Elyria Catholic has been bounced from the tournament,
that bracket's lined up with South Range.
Oh,
the other bracket
is
lined up with Champion. So now, Champion will still have to play Waynedale.
Yeah.
Which is going to be tough.
Waynedale is going to be.
You know what? I'll give Champion credit because I honestly, when we picked the game, I thought Ursuline was going to win that game. So they find ways to win. They have a winning mentality down there.
Well, now we're assuming Champion beats Garfield. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
It was a 2-point game in the regular season.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick Champion because they just have been finding ways to win.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pick against the same team twice when they proved to me I was wrong.
This is true. This is true.
So I'm not going to give you any more motivation, Champion. Yeah.
It's kind of like me and Tom Brady. It's kind of like me and Tom Brady. After a while, you got to be like, okay, yeah, you're winning games, so I think I'll just stop picking against you now. Thank you very much. But look, I mean, whoever wins the game, Apple Creek, Waynedale is the big dog in the region. They and South Range are the two big dogs in the region.
I think they'll play Tuslaw, who's a good team. It'll be a good district championship game, but unless something weird happens, I think Waynedale will win that district.
Yeah.
Because Tuslaw's a good team. But
yes.
And then Norwayne, their only 2 losses of the year are to Waynedale. So they play each other in the same conference, and they're a solid team too, so that's who I think will come out of that district.
Yeah, you talk about a conference that prepares you. Good Lord.
And I don't know the makeup of the rest of their conference. I mean, it might be kind of like the NE8 where there are 2 teams that are head and shoulders above everyone else, and they just duke it out for the NE8 championship this year, like it was South Range Poland.
Sure.
And it might be like that where there's Waynedale and Norwayne, and then a bunch of teams that just aren't adding up to them yet, and it could be like that, but we don't know.
Could you imagine if Salem and West Branch were invited into that conference? How good it would be. Man. And look, I'm sure they're happy in the EBC. I mean, and they should be. It's a great conference, but Salem and West Branch are a lot closer to the Mahoning Valley than they are. Well, Salem is.
You know who I think would be a better, not a better fit, but like they're not in a conference that's big? And it's like Howland. What if Howland went into the NE8?
Oh, man.
Because that's another D2 program that's just going to slide into the NE8. Now, it wouldn't be the NE8 anymore if they didn't replace somebody, but you know, it'd be like kind of like the Big Ten with 13 schools.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. The one school that everyone would pretty much secretly say, yeah, we want them out, is the school in Ashtabula County.
Right.
Now, I'm not in for I'm not here to throw anybody out of a conference, but if you're going to replace someone, that would be the logical choice to replace. But you and I both know that this conference, though we love basketball, let's be honest that football is what runs the pop stand.
Every conference.
Yeah,
I mean, football runs the money here, and that's where they get their.
And how many of those programs would really like to have Howland come into the NE8? There's a reason why Howland and Canfield aren't in this conference. So, I mean, that's
even Howland on a down year scares people.
Oh my gosh, they're
good. They were on a down year this year.
Well, they're solid. They're a solid team. Now, having said that. And I understand that it would be the paramount of what the NE8 does when they sat back and said, no Canfield, no Howland, they're too big for us. Canfield and Howland can say the same thing when they are talked about along the same lines as Austintown, Fitch, Boardman, and Harding, because those 3 behemoths are much bigger than Canfield and Howland.
Yeah, and that's the conference right there. Boardman, Warren Harding, Canfield, Howland, and Austintown Fitch in the AAC.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, if we're going to be truly honest, I would love to see the City Series / the Steel Valley Conference combined with those schools that you just mentioned: Cheney, East, Mooney, Ursuline, Canfield, Fitch, Boardman, Harding, Howland. A 9-team conference where you would have
be a juggernaut?
8 football games, 2 non-conference games, and you would have 16 basketball, volleyball, baseball, all the other sports, not named track and field and cross country, because I don't think you do two meets again. Do they do two meets against?
They have an NE8 meet where everyone's there, right?
Well, that's true.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I honestly, I'm not the track and field
But
guy.
I mean, volleyball, basketball, baseball, softball, you play each other 2 times.
Right.
Can you imagine this conference, this crazy conference, where you'd wind up playing 16 of your 22 regular season games in conference, then you only have to find 6 non-conference teams. And for schools like Cheney and Canfield and Howland and East, they're going to be looking at it around and saying, we really don't need to schedule anyone that difficult in our non-conference. I mean, we will, but in Cheney's case, they're going to play anyone they want to because their basketball team's that sick. But you really wouldn't have to schedule that many really good non-conference teams if you had that league. That would be oh my God, would that league be incredible?
Imagine football like Mooney versus Austintown Fitch every year.
You'd have a sellout crowd, which they play anyway. I mean, they play every year anyway. I mean, can you imagine Mooney or Ursuline playing Canfield or Howland every year? I mean, you'd have a sellout crowd. You'd have a sellout crowd every single year. It would be crazy.
And then there would be more on the line in those games because they would be conference games. So you would be fighting for not just bragging rights, but you're fighting for a legitimate conference championship.
And by the way, you're also fighting for your your division to get into the playoffs, because playoffs. And this year it'll be top 12 teams in each region, not top 8. So it'll be fun.
It's a steady slope. I think.
Dare to dream.
In like 5 or 6 years, we're going to be like top 16. And then it's going to be top 24, and then everyone gets in.
God, no.
And it's a steady slope because it keeps getting higher. We keep.
Yeah, but at some point in time, if everyone gets in, you're going to have to knock the regular season games down to 6 like they did at COVID.
Right. I mean, hey.
I'm not. Speaking of games being moved up, the NFL is probably going to go to a 17-game season this year. What I've understood, the owners...
They're cutting a week off preseason?
Yeah, the owners are in talks right now with all of the networks that are covering the NFL, which would be, let's see, Fox,
CBS,
ESPN, NBC, the NFL Network.
Oh, yeah, but they don't have to talk to the NFL Network. They own the NFL.
Well, that's true. But all 5 of them are in cahoots to want to have the game or want to have the schedule at 17 games. And they're going to sign a ridiculously long contract. So we're not going to be seeing 18 games anytime soon, but it'll be 17 regular season games and 3 preseason games.
Now, the way they do it, you play your own division twice.
Yes.
You play one AFC conference all, and then you play the one team that finished where you were.
Yes.
And then you play one NFC conference, and that equals 16 games.
Yes.
Are they just going to pick a random team for that 17th game and say you're playing them? I mean,
I would assume that they would go with probably a non-conference.
What if every team has an interconference game that's every year, like the closest proximity matchup?
Nah, it wouldn't make any sense. You got to stay with the same formula. So in the formula that they're using, you're playing your own division twice. That's 6 games. You play one AFC and one NFC division complete. So that's 4 and 4. So that's 8. Plus your 6 is 14. And now you're going to take on 2 AFC division teams that finished the exact same where you were. So your third place team, you're going to be playing the third place team in the East, the third place team in the West. Now, do you go with a third place team in the other division in your conference? Or do you go outside and to the NFC?
Well, no. If you play the other division in your conference, well, I guess you play 2, so there's still that third. No,
there's
you would have played them
third.
already. You would have played them already because you play one conference all 4 games. So
okay.
you're going to
so
have
you would be forced to go to the other conference.
Third place in the NFC.
Yeah, you'd have to go to a third place in another conference because you're going to be playing. You can't play the same team twice unless it's your own division.
Right.
Yeah. So it's it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I always thought the 4th preseason game was pointless anyway. I know that's like when they finalized their roster, but none of the starters even play.
Yeah.
So I think you can finalize your roster with practice scrimmages with other teams. You don't have to have a preseason game for it.
Now, do you give these teams 2 byes, or is it going to be 1 bye?
That's interesting. If you give them 2 byes, it's got to be a 19-week season, which means
yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, to me, it's got to be 1 bye.
Adding
now
a game and then not having another bye in there.
Yeah,
that's not going to make
now,
too many people.
This is my personal gripe with the NFL.
They just want more Thursday night games, don't they?
Oh God, I hate Thursday night football. God, it's
where
horrible.
they put the trash teams.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. It's that package screams, we don't give a shit about the players. This is about us making money.
Well, yeah.
Because veteran players have sat back and said countlessly, hey, the longer we're in this league, the longer it takes for us to get over the bumps and bruises of a Sunday game, where there's guys that are 10 plus years in the league say, hey, we're not ready to play a game until Friday at the absolute earliest. Well, hell, if you got to play your game on Thursday, it's pointless.
The argument on the other side is, yeah, you get a shortened time, but then you get a longer time to prepare for the next game.
Which is
so to NFL, it's like, well, we balance it out because you get an extra 3 days to do the next game.
But you're not balancing it out. You're making life more miserable for the veterans.
Advocate.
And I get it. But here's my gripe. If you're going to go team buys, if you're going to go buys, don't arbitrarily pick 4 teams. Go with a complete division. So for let's say the first 3 weeks, everyone's playing. So you got 16 games, weeks 1, week 2, week 3. Week 4, the buys start happening. Go with a complete division. So let's say the AFC North, the entire division, done for week 4.
Right.
So that means that everybody is on equal footing. Your bye week was the exact bye week as the other 3 teams in your division. You're on equal footing. Nobody gets a bye 6 weeks down the road. Nobody gets a bye early. Nobody gets a bye middle. Everyone is on the same landscape. That to me is the biggest problem that I have with the NFL when it comes to the buys. So just say AFC North, you got the first bye. NFC East, you got the second bye. AFC West, you got the third bye. NFC South, you get the fourth bye. And just alternate AFC and NFC so the suits are happy. You know, CBS, sorry about your luck. You're going to be down 2 games in your telecast this week. We'll let the doubleheader be Fox so we can see more of Joe Buck. I don't necessarily want to see more of Joe Buck, but whatever.
Because he's still going to do 1 game. He's not going to do the doubleheader.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I understand. It's
unless they just say, you know what, why are we paying extra announcers when Joe Buck can call 1 game from Philadelphia and then remotely call the next game from Philadelphia?
Please no. No. He's not even the best.
No,
Can I just say right
baseball,
now?
But he's not that great at
Can
football.
I just say right now he's not even the best football broadcaster they have on Fox?
Well, yeah, you think Kevin Burkhardt
is way better than he is. Way better. Not even close. And I'm not saying that because I'm Kevin's friend. I'm saying it because it's true. He's way better than Joe Buck is on football. And Joe's pretty good. Joe's pretty solid, but Kevin is that much better.
I think he's better at baseball.
Oh, my God. Joe's incredible at baseball.
I know the Indians fans just cringed when I said that. But,
well, look, I mean, everyone. It's a Cleveland mentality to be against everyone. That's that's the cross that they bring. Yeah, everyone hates us. No, we don't hate you. I don't.
We just don't like you a lot.
I just no. I mean, it's Kyle Schwarber was unbelievable. I mean, to come back from an ACL that quickly. To play and have that big of a World Series coming back from an ACL, yeah, that deserved some wow. You know, I mean, get over it. I mean,
Joe Buck comes over to the Cleveland fans and goes, "He doesn't like you. I don't like you either."
It's amazing to me how many people think the broadcaster roots for someone. On
there's
that level,
there's some.
No, they're not.
Dickie V has a absolute.
Well, he's not, but he's not a broadcaster. He's a color analyst.
I know. Okay, fine. He's color analysts are broadcasters. They're on the broadcast.
Yeah, but they're not.
So if they're slanted, you can hear it.
Yeah.
And when he brings up Duke, when they're not even playing on the floor.
No, I get the color analysts might have, but the play-by-play guys don't have. They don't give a crap one way or the other.
Unless you're the radio announcer for that team.
Well, yeah. I mean, and even then, you want to be objective. The great ones are objective. That's why Hamilton
Tom
is
Hamilton
where he
doesn't
is.
scream when the other team hits a home run.
Tom Hamilton will give credit
He
where
gives
credit's
credit,
due.
but you can tell he's.
No, I get that.
He works for the Indians.
I get
and
that,
the
but
same
he's
thing with the Indians TV announcer. I think they do a great job of staying neutral per se, getting excited when the Indians have something.
Yeah.
But they will absolutely give credit when someone else makes.
No, I agree with that.
I like Matt Underwood and
he's all right.
And
He's
what's the other guy's name?
Rick Manning.
Rick Manning.
Yeah, Manning and
they're
both pretty good.
Yeah, Rick Manning is the Royals color commentator. He's a character. Rex Hudler. He's a character.
Yeah,
he comes up with wacky stuff.
Well,
just to say,
who was the longtime broadcaster with Kansas City? Denny Matthews.
Denny Matthews does radio. He still does radio.
Denny Matthews is solid.
And then we got a call, so we'll continue this later.
No, you didn't have to. All right, let's go to the phone lines real quick. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Coach, is this you?
Yeah, it's Coach Forsythe from Brookfield, sir.
Coach, how are you today, sir?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
I'm doing wonderful, and I suppose we need to congratulate you for finally getting the Crestview Rebels into the rearview mirror. Anthony and I talked with you about a month or so ago, and you had said that you had never beaten Crestview, and you'd picked a great time to beat them last night, Coach.
It was huge. I mean, I'm more excited for the girls because it was their hard work, but it was good to finally get that monkey off our back.
When you look at that game and the way it went, what kind of things did you guys execute differently than you did in the regular season matchups with Crestview this season?
We shot the ball a little bit better. We shot it with confidence. I mean, I was talking to the Sharon Herald about an hour ago, and they asked me the same question, and I told them, that second time we played them, I was doing stats the next day in my office before practice. I was just making sure they were right, and there was a bunch of zeros as missed shots. And Katie Logan comes in, and we're talking, and I said, Katie, look at this stat sheet. And she goes, Coach, we missed a ton of shots, and we talked about it, and I didn't show that stat sheet to anybody else. She's the only one that saw it. And so I went out to practice, and we talked about it, and I said, Katie, will you explain to the girls what we just saw? And she says, girls, you don't want to see the stat sheet. We let the game slip away because we didn't hit any shots. So, it was... And that was part of, it was a motivational thing. Because, both games we didn't shoot the ball very well against them.
The half court. Go ahead. Finish
they're well coached. And their half court defense gives us fits. But, like I said, I'm proud of the girls for coming out last night and battling and playing their game.
What did you do differently, Coach? Speaking of that half court trap, which Crestview does every so often, what were you guys able to do to get past that half-court trap and get some open shots?
We screened a little bit differently than we normally do, and then we got the ball to the high post, and that's the key to it. Anna Riker just came back from an injury. She hasn't played a game all year, and she's kind of been an unsung hero during this little bit of run we've been on because she's one of our top players, and nobody really has film on her. And we put her in that high post yesterday, and they had to take some of that pressure off the top because they had to cover her. And that's a huge difference for us.
Now, when you look at the challenges that you have in the next game against South Range, and I know you and Coach Fishel know each other really well. He was on about an hour ago and talked about how well he knows you in the program because he works in Brookfield. What kind of things do you see the challenges that South Range would face?
They're well coached. Coach Fishel does a great job. He's got one of the best programs around. Their pressure, their defense, their intensity, just with the defense, is what's going to worry me the most because our girls have not ever seen anything like that. And that's going to be how we handle that adversity. Because it's going to be adversity. There's going to be some adversity sometimes, and how we respond to that is how we're going to, how the game will go.
Coach, what is practice going to be like for the next couple of days to get prepared for South Range? Do you throw some extra kids on the floor to play defense to give kind of an interesting view of what you're looking for with South Range?
Yeah, I just was talking to one of my assistants via text, and that's one of the things we've talked about is getting some girls, some extra girls out there, or possibly going out to the weight room and grabbing a couple football players and just getting them to, trap us a little bit and get after it with us a little bit. So, I mean, we got some ideas, and depending on how it goes, we practice at 4 o'clock today, so I got about 2 hours here to decide how we want to handle that. So.
Don't you love that you work at a school where you can just go to the weight room and grab a couple football players and say, hey, we need you to come trap against us real quick.
Coach Clark, he was on my staff last year and took a year off this year, and he would, when I walk out there and I said I need a couple, he would be joyful to give me whoever I wanted. So it's nice to have that relationship with the football coach.
Coach, talk about how good and just how great a player Sophia Hook has been and how important she has been to the success of your program this year.
She's a hard worker. I mean, I keep saying it, and I'm sure people are sick of hearing it, but I feel she's one of the top players in the area. I mean, her work ethic's unlike no other I've ever seen. She comes in, like yesterday, she showed up at the school at 5 o'clock, wanted to shoot. And she's done it the last couple of games, and I had to let her into the elementary gym to shoot yesterday because we weren't allowed on our court, but she's down there getting, she probably got about 200 shots in before the game. And I mean, that's been her routine the last couple of games. So, I mean, she's, and she wants it more than anybody. And the other girls have fallen in line, and they know their rules well too. I mean, and they play well together. So that goes a long way. And they're all good friends, and that's even better.
Everyone talks about the offense that they bring to the table, Sophia Hook, Audrey Reardon, and the ability to score. But this has been a defensive episode, so talk about their defense and what makes your defense so special and how they've kind of led the way in this district tournament.
My assistant coach, Coach Fondick, always tells these guys, because he coached them in eighth grade, he goes, how do you win a battle? He goes, you got to cut the head off of a snake. You know what I mean? And the snakes, it means you got to go stop the ball. And that's been like our motto. They chopped the head off these snakes with these teams, and I mean they did a great job on Krista Perry last night, holding her to 9 points. United on Saturday, I mean that they didn't. A couple of their big scores didn't score a lot. They all love playing defense, and they bought into the man-to-man because a year ago they wanted to play zone. That's all they wanted to play was zone, zone, zone. Well, I went to zone last week after we played man all year, and they looked at me, Coach, we want to play man. We want to play man, And it's just them buying into the system.
How hard was it to get those kids to buy into the aggressive man-to-man defense, Coach?
I think after, the first scrimmage, it wasn't that bad because we scrimmaged Youngstown East. And they were a little bit bigger than us, and we sat back and played them. And I'm like, girls, we got to use our quickness. We got to use our IQs to beat some teams because we're not the biggest team in the world. I mean, I start basically 4.5 guards, and I mean we're not very big at all. But our heart and stuff is what carries our defense. And I told them, I said, it's either we're going to sit here and play soft, and I can't tell you how many games we're going to win, or we're going to make people feel uncomfortable. So you guys got two options. If you want to make them feel uncomfortable, the sky's the limit, and it's been a joyful ride this year because of that.
When you're undersized, like you said, the little things that you execute become that much more important. You got to box out the bigger girls. You got to go for 50-50 balls. You got to use your quickness and athleticism. Talk about the attention to detail that this team has and the ability to execute the little things that kind of even out the height disadvantage that they usually have.
I mean, they have a knack for the ball. I mean, Katie Gibson every night is the smallest girl on the court 9 times out of 10. But she probably has the biggest heart. She has a heart that can fill our gym up. And, we talked last night after the game saying, this girl is pulling down rebounds and getting steals and getting loose balls that she has no business getting. But her heart and determination has carried her to that point. And, I mean, she's, I hate to say it, she's like our silent MVP right now because of everything she does outside of scoring.
Coach, I'll echo. I will absolutely echo what you're saying. I broadcast your guys' game with Crestview up in Brookfield 2 weeks earlier, and Katie Gibson, I was saying, Here's the smallest kid on the floor, and she's getting rebound after rebound. It's absolutely incredible to watch her play and watch her just have that attitude.
Yeah, and it's great, you know what I mean, because it's every day she knows her role. She has that bulldog mentality that every coach wants a player to have. And she'll run through a brick wall if I asked her today at practice, Katie, I need you to go through that wall for me. And she would.
You get to go on the road now for the first time in this tournament to try to, be the underdog and be the road warriors. What's that the shift in mentality going to be like now being the lower seed and being the quote-unquote underdog?
It'll be different. I mean, it's us just talking to them, and I tell them before we go on every bus trip, this is a business trip. We got to have our business suits on, we got to have our work boots on, and we got to go to work. And that's how we kind of play this off with this. So hopefully Saturday they get their hard hats on and their work boots on, and we're going to, go try to upset the South Range.
Ken Forsyth, the head basketball coach of the Brookfield Warriors, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. We asked Coach Fishel this. Let me ask you. Give me your thoughts on the two districts combining into one big district. And, we've been talking, when you get into district play next year, we're hoping that it's in one neutralized location for both districts. Do you like the opportunities of playing games in your home floor all the way, in your case, through the district semifinals, or would you rather have it in one convenient location?
I was talking to our boys coach the other night about this, and, he's done this a lot longer than I have, and I've only got to witness it for, 2 years. But it's good because, I feel like if you go back to, 6-7 years ago when the whole sectional was at a gym, that was fun. That made it a tournament atmosphere because you're playing on a court that you're not used to. You're able to go scout, take your whole team over there to watch a game. They were all on different nights. I would like to see that go back to that. If they're going to keep with this two bracket thing, then let's put everybody on one court. From sectional, semi through the districts, because again, that's a tournament atmosphere in my eyes.
Man,
a home game, if you say you're a 5 seed, you're going to go play the 4 seed. I mean, what's really the difference between a 4 and a 5 seed? There's really not that much of a difference. Why should they get a home court advantage?
Man, I love it. As a basketball fan, I miss the days when you could go to one spot and see 4 games on the night, and then your sectionals are over, and then you could go to one spot and see both district semifinals, and it was fun time. I agree. Now, when you get to this format in the double districts and maybe some unfamiliar you guys didn't have any unfamiliar matchups, but there was an opportunity to have matchups with some unfamiliar opponents. Did that excite you as a coach to kind of get to play some people that didn't know anything about you and you didn't know anything about them?
Yeah, I mean, our first game against Mogador, I didn't know. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know. You think of Mogador, you think of, their football program, and I've watched their boys' basketball team a couple of times, and I told our girls, their girls are going to be ready to go. I mean, it's, this ain't just going to be a walk in the park, and they gave us a battle for a while, and that's good because you get to see somebody else that you're not used to playing. We saw United in the second game, and we played them once, but we played them at the end of last year too. So we basically saw them 3 times in a year. And then Crestview. I mean, you're going to take with what it is with that. I mean, it's we knew we were getting with them, and I just I'm all for playing somebody we've never played before. So.
Coach, you get to see South Range in the district championship game, and obviously they have a talented team. Izzy Lamparty dropped 30 on East Palestine last night. Lexi Giles had 18 points. It's a complete team, but Lamparty is, she's, to use your terms, Coach, she's the head of the snake.
Yeah. And, hopefully we're ready to cut that head off that snake Saturday. But, I mean, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, like I said, Coach Fishel does a nice job. He's has his team ready to go every night, and it'll be a challenge for us. But hopefully we're ready to go, and we give them a little challenge.
We talked a little bit at the top of the show how the roles kind of reversed from last year's district tournament where Crestview was the team that had lost twice against the regular season to Liberty and then beat them in the tournament. Does it give your team a little bit of added energy or added momentum to beat a team that had beat them twice in the regular season, and can it give them a little extra sense of confidence going into the district championship, knowing that there's tangible evidence that they've grown from the last time they played those two teams?
Yeah, I mean, it goes with anything. I mean, the girls know. I mean, I think they felt after that second game against Crestview that, Crestview was the better team that night, but I think at the end of the day, we knew if we got another chance at them, we can get them, and that's what they wanted, and when I came in the next day and said, after our brackets came out, and I said, girls, we got to play well so we can go see Crestview again, and that's kind of what they wanted. They wanted a piece of Crestview again, which goes a long way because, I mean, Coach Blatch does a great job down at Crestview with Krista Perry and the Hallis girl and stuff like that. But for my girls to want that, not let them two graduate beating them 3 times, I mean, that was huge.
Coach, obviously, the two best players, you have Sophia Hook, South Range has Izzy Lamparty. Any chance we see Hook matching up on defense against Lamparty on Saturday?
You never know. I'm not going to even lie to you. I haven't watched 1 minute of South Range tape yet. I'm actually on my way to the school now to watch some film. My 2 assistants have been watching film all day, so I'm going to kind of go with what they got to say. But I plan on watching about 2 hours of film here before practice. But we'll see. I mean, usually Sophie guards the other team's best player, and Izzy is the best player on that team. So if we do go a little bit of man, you're probably going to see that matchup at some point.
Now, you bring up the film you're going to watch, and I'm sure you've watched a lot of film this season. Talk about how important the film work is to a team and how important it is to kind of have your kids be able to break down film and see things that other teams are doing and even see things that they're doing on film that they can improve on.
And we do a nice job of, one of us takes our JV group and goes over the other team's offenses and defenses in another gym or on the other end of the court. And, then we break down what we want to try to do, and then we come together. And, I mean, and they see that side of it. Then we take them into to a classroom and kind of watch some film on teams. And, it's kind of like it's how we run things. I mean, and it goes a long way because we want to make sure we're more prepared than anybody. If we're not more prepared than anybody we face, then, there goes part of a loss right there. So we got to work at it to get better.
Ken Forsyth, the head basketball coach of the Brookfield Warriors, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. I've often said that basketball can be a classroom type of subject where you're breaking down film, and especially when you get into the tournaments, getting some film from future opponents and getting your kids involved in the tendencies and the other things that you're looking for in film, and it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's especially modern now. You can just, on Huddle, you can go click on and say, can I get your tape from last night or anything like that. I mean, that's huge. And, with Huddle, every girl has their own account, so they can go watch film all day if they want to.
And
they're sitting in study hall, they're able to watch film. They're sitting at home at night, they're able to. It makes it easier on us as coaches.
I asked a coach this earlier this week. I'm interested to see how you respond. How do you balance, trying to prepare for the other team and prepare for their tendencies and what they do with also maintaining, not trying to intimidate or make it feel like you're saying all these things because there's little chance to, guard it or how do you balance preparing for the other team and then being yourselves as Brookfield Warriors when you're kind of breaking down what the opponent's going to do?
I mean, and the good thing about our conferences, and any other even teams, my girls are familiar with everybody we really play. I mean, a lot of them play AAU, a lot of them play volleyball against them, everything else. They knew who the better athletes on each team is. And I'm sure that some of them could give a better scouting report than I could against some of these teams. But, again, it's just them. I mean, they know, I'll tell them, we got to guard this girl, make her go left, and they follow rules like there's no other. So I mean, it's them believing in us is why we are where we are right now too.
Well, I got to believe one of the other key components to Brookfield's success this year has just been the tenacity and the grit that is the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference grade tier. My God, you had some competition. Newton Falls preparing you, Crestview preparing you, LeBray preparing you. And next year with the arrival of Garrettsville, Garfield, that conference is going to be absolutely bananas next year. But this year alone, it's just such a rugged conference that I got to believe that's one of the reasons why Brookfield is in the district championship game right now.
Yeah, I mean, our conference games prepare us like no other for any kind of game, you know. And I mean, you go out and schedule, you know, as a non-conference schedule, sometimes you want to go ramp that thing up too. But it's like after you go through our conference, it's like, you know, sometimes you might just need a win too, you know. So you don't got to go out, you know, you always want to play better teams. And you know, next year I did change our schedule up a little bit, but we'll see what happens with that. But I mean, it's you got to challenge them, and every night they'll get challenged in our league because again, any night anybody can beat anybody.
You have a young and hungry team that's coming off a big win, momentum coming through the tournament. How important do you think the first couple minutes of this game on Saturday are going to be to establish the tone and establish the intensity of your team going forward?
We got to keep it close in this first quarter and then see what happens from there. And that's been our thing. You know, it's, you know, let's get through this first quarter. We go quarter by quarter, you know, and that's what they've been buying into. And that's what we're going to keep doing Saturday, you know. And, you know, I know South Range likes to get up and get down, and, you know, they like to put it on early. And it's like, you know, we got to stop. We got to be able to stop that, you know, and that's going to be one of our things. It's going to be a challenge for us because we haven't faced anybody like this yet this year.
Coach, it should be an unbelievable game on Saturday afternoon. Congratulations on getting into the district championship game, and we look forward to the game on Saturday between Brookfield and South Range.
Thank you guys for everything you do.
All right, Coach, always a pleasure.
Right.
See ya.
Thanks.
Ken Forsyth, the head basketball coach of the Brookfield Warriors. I'm with him. I mean, if Brookfield can hang with South Range in the first quarter, now you've got a real shot of confidence. And the longer this team hangs around, the longer South Range is going to have the pressure on them.
And here's another important thing. How is your team going to respond to a Raider run? Because there's going to be a point in the game, I guarantee it, where South Range makes a little bit of a run. Maybe it's a 6-0 run, maybe it's a 9-0 run, 10-0 run, whatever it may be. How does your team respond to that? Because even 10 points, you're in striking distance if you get yourself ready and lock it down after
You're
that.
doing this.
You're doing this. But then, you know, is the team going to fold or is the team going to keep fighting? That's why West Geauga pushed Poland to the brink last night. We talk about the breakdown of that game. Poland had a lead throughout the game. It was 9 points. It was 16 points. But Geauga kept making plays to keep Poland in striking distance and eventually, almost like a NASCAR race, to stay in there, and then found a little lane to come up and take this. Their first lead of the game was 62-61. So you just have to kind of stay in striking distance, absorb the runs that the other team's going to have because they're undoubtedly too talented to not have a couple of scoring runs. Poland opened the game on a 9-0 run. You just got to absorb it and try to keep them, you know, don't let them run away with the game. And that's going to be big to see how Brookfield responds to a little bit of adversity.
And those 5 timeouts that each team gets, they're going to have to be used at the right time.
West Geauga used 2 of them in the first quarter because they were on a 9-0 run and Poland was hitting threes like crazy. And you almost have to.
You have to make the adjustment, and you know you can't sit here and have the team go on a long run, and then you're like, oh, I guess now I'm going to call a timeout. No, the horse is already out of the barn by now. So you know you're going to have to understand. Okay, especially if you're going up against a team as good as South Range. If you're Brookfield, you're going to have to sit back and go, okay, if we survive this first quarter and we're within striking distance, I don't have to call any timeouts. But the moment South Range goes on one of those famous runs of theirs, 4-6 points in, when you feel that the wheels are starting to fall off, that's where you got to call it. You got to even call the timeout before you feel the wheels are starting to fall off at that point.
You're right, and you got it's the timing of the timeout, and then what you say and how your team responds to that timeout that's really important. Because one of the things West Geauga did really well is every time that coach took a timeout, they came back and made a couple of plays. Once again, keeping Poland in striking distance, not letting Poland run away with the game.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure you're probably going to know this, it's 3 fulls and 2 30s?
I think so.
All right. So if they're on one of their famous runs, I'm not calling a 30-second timeout. Hell no. I'm calling the 60-second timeout, and I'm saying, all this mojo's out. I'm like, I ain't doing this. I'm doing one of these numbers because I don't want to give that team a 30-second break and then they're going to go out on another run. I want to give my team 60 seconds to really think what they're doing here.
Timeouts are even more interesting in volleyball because it's such a momentum-based sport, and some coaches don't like calling a timeout during a run because then that sends the message that we needed a timeout. And it gets the other team even more amped up. Like, oh, yeah, we forced a timeout from you.
Yeah.
So that's the timing, too. Like, you don't want to make it at a 6-0 run or a 7-0 run because at that point you can still kind of try to stop it yourself. If it gets a 9, 10, 11, then you call a timeout. But if you call it too early, you're going to give that team a bunch of momentum because they're going to feel like, yeah, we forced a timeout. We're making you call a timeout. And that's going to give them.
Where do you call a timeout early in the game? Right off the get-go. If a team is on a run to begin the game, where do you call the timeout?
It's obviously depending on whether or not they're scoring because you're having breakdowns and you're just not playing well, or if they're just hitting amazing shots that go out of the side of their scouting report. If you're having defensive breakdowns and they're just scoring in ways that you know they shouldn't compared to your defense, then you call a timeout real quick.
Yeah.
If they're hitting threes, players out of the scouting report hitting threes, I would let the team work that out themselves. Because then you realize if you keep playing the defense the way you should, the law of averages are going to even out, and eventually those players aren't going to hit threes anymore, and you're going to be okay with your scouting report.
All right, see, at 8 points.
And then if you do that and someone else that's not even in the scouting report goes off and hits like 8 threes,
yeah,
then you're like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
If a team goes out of thegoing scouting report, that's going to put you in some hot water.
At 8-0, I'm calling a timeout. I'm saying that's it. We're going to have a little conversation. And if you're not playing up to standards, it's a 30-second timeout where I'm having a come-to-Jesus moment with everyone. Or if it's one of those things where they're on a run, then I'm calling a 60.
Here's a great example. In the first Poland-South Range matchup, Coach Blanche called the timeout 5-0 South Range. But it was because they were letting South Range get easy layups because of defensive breakdowns.
Yeah.
And he got into them.
Yeah,
that timeout.
That's the 30-second timeout come to Jesus moment.
They obviously went on to win that game, and they had a great second quarter, and they went on to win that game in the first matchup.
Yeah,
but it's very situational because he called that timeout not because South Range started 5-0, but the way they did it. They were getting easy layups. The defense was breaking down.
Yeah, and if they're starting off slow and they're looking like, hey, you're not even into this game,
right,
then you got to call the timeout and chew them out. And the 30-second chew out of, I'm going to talk, you're going to listen, and
as
that's
a player,
it.
When you know your coach called the timeout early, you're sitting there like, oh, we're going to get our butts handed to us in this huddle.
Yeah. There's no two ways about that.
You're walking to that timeout like a dog tailing between its legs.
Yep. Man. You know you're about to get punished.
Ears down, and you're like, you venture into the other team's timeout. Hey guys, what's up?
330-886-0813. We're back in a bit with Dre Smith, the voice of the YSU Women Penguins.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
High-res futurecast shows steady snow for the next few hours.
still just downright cold.
It is bitter out there.
Several strong bands of lake effect snow.
Winds is kind of the big story today as well.
So if you need a more detailed winter forecast on WFMJ.com and the Storm Tracker 21 app.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
To Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
The extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
Product placement.
Product placements. I gotta give you mine right here. Our Yeti cups that they've given us.
A little bit of Vanna White. Doodle-doo.
Well, no offense, you don't look like Vanna. But that's okay.
It's hard to look like Vanna.
Yeah, it's okay. Hardly anyone looks like Vanna White, so you're in good company.
We're talking to someone that doesn't look like her. Yet.
No. Dre does not look like Vanna White. Though Dre is a better broadcaster than Vanna White. I'll give him that. Dre, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. It's a busy day. We got 2 tournament games here at Beagley Center, and I'm actually going to be on the radio call for both of them here today. So get my first YSU men's basketball action of the season in addition to the women's game. So it's a busy day, but we're excited about it.
Okay, now, for everyone that is unaware of the reason why you're doing the radio call and not Rob Schmidt, please let everyone know the reason. It's a Horizon League. The situation is a lot different come tournament time. Give everyone the reason why here.
Yeah, so the Horizon League does not permit simulcast for the Horizon League tournament. And Rob typically does the TV and radio broadcast sync together along with yourself on simulcast for radio and TV. But for the Horizon League tournament, the conference will not allow that. So we had to split the broadcast up here this week. So Rob's going to handle the TV side of things, and I'm going to handle the radio side of things. So it is a little bit different, but we'll make it work and have some fun with it.
Okay, so the women, is it kind of the same situation where you're not allowed to have the radio and TV together? So you're doing the radio, and it's like this always. You're doing the radio now, except Richie Giuliano is with DJ. They're going to be doing YSU baseball this weekend. So Anthony Romo and I will be doing the YSU women's game for ESPN Plus.
Yep, correct. Yeah, so it's the same deal. So we got to split up the broadcast, and then obviously on the women's side, we typically do that with Richie and yourself handling the TV side of things and me on the radio. So with Richie down in Louisiana, along with DJ covering YSU baseball, Anthony Romo, one of our student interns, is going to jump in and have his first experience doing play-by-play. So we're lucky to have a number of talented individuals, including yourself, and some talented students that are able to jump in and handle these broadcasts. So it's an exciting time, and we're lucky here at YSU to have a great sports broadcasting program with young individuals that have been able to come up through the ranks and kind of learn with hands-on experience through us, and now they get some experience doing some Division I game broadcasts. So, yeah, it's an exciting time, and hopefully we'll get a couple of wins tonight.
And I just want to piggyback on that, but then I went into the YSU. Well, I was technically a TCOM major because sports broadcasting didn't become a track until I was a senior, so I wasn't going to restart everything and take all the sports broadcasting classes.
This is Anthony being angry right now.
I am a little bit upset. The year after I graduated, they started making the new sports broadcasting facility in Stambaugh. So yeah, a little salty. But the point is, I think the professors in that sports broadcasting are second to none. They brought a couple of people that have a lot of experience in the sports broadcasting field, And the classes that I did take for sports broadcasting, second to none. And let me tell you, Anthony Romo, I almost called him Tony Romo. He's not there yet. But he does a great job for YSN, and you guys are going to be very pleased with his first call for YSU women's basketball.
No, we're excited about it, and you're right. It's a great program, and I was kind of in the same boat when I went to school here at Youngstown State years ago. They didn't have a sports broadcasting program, so I ended up going the business route, and I wish that program would have been around when I was an undergrad, because that would have been something that I would have loved to take advantage of, and we're thankful to have that here. I'm in the Don Constantini Multimedia Center right now on the east side of Sandbox Stadium, and it's such a great facility, and we have a classroom here where sports broadcasting classes are taking place, and it's just amazing to see the growth in that program over the years and the talented young students, including yourself, that have come through and been able to call games for us. So, no, it's an amazing program, and we're thankful to have it here at YSU, and it's in a great mix of academics and athletics. It's great to see that combination come together.
Dre Smith, the voice of the YSU women's basketball team, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Dre, YSU will be taking on a team that they had no problems beating 2 times in the regular season in the Purdue-Fort Wayne Mastodons, as YSU is seeded number 7. Obviously, you don't want to assume anything, but the Mastodons won 1 game this year. It's going to be an uphill battle for them, and for the Penguins, the biggest thing is hopefully they're not complacent coming into this game.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is being focused and playing a full 4 quarters. That's the biggest thing that head coach John Barnes talked about with me this week was, he feels like lately they've been playing a good 2 quarters, a good 3, a good 2.5 quarters, but they just can't put together a full game. We saw against Cleveland State, they got up big in the first game and let that lead slip away, and the Vikings came back and got a win. And then even in the second game last Saturday, the Penguins were up double digits at the end of the third quarter, and Cleveland State came back, got it all the way down to 3, so as we've kind of struggled in the fourth quarter as of late. So the biggest focus is putting together a full game, a consistent game, and then that's what's going to take. Purdue-Fort Wayne's obviously a team that has really struggled this year with just 1 win, but they picked up their first win last weekend against Robert Morris. Coach feels like they're playing better basketball. They have some individuals who are playing well individually, so it's going to be a challenge. And the biggest thing he talked about with the Mastodons is, they have nothing to lose. They're not expected to win. All the pressure's on Youngstown State. Purdue-Fort Wayne's going to come in and throw everything at YSU. They're going to try a little bit of everything on defense. You'll get some zone, you'll get some man-to-man, you'll get some pressure, you'll get some trapping. You're going to get a little bit of everything in this game because, the pressure's all on Youngstown State. So really going to have to play a consistent game. Going to need, the big players inside to step up as, we were able to dominate them in the paint. I believe we outscored them in the paint like 88-28 in the 2 games earlier this year at Bigley Center. So we have a great size advantage with Mary Dunn and Neko Obiizer, Emma Van Zanten inside. So I expect a heavy dose of them inside, and then we're going to have to be able to step out and guard them. Because they are undersized, they're a little bit quicker than us on the offensive end, on our defensive end. So our big players are going to have to step out and guard some smaller players. That'll create some challenges. So it's going to be a battle, but I think YSU's ready and focused and has had a good week of practice. So we'll see what they bring to the floor tonight.
If it happens to become a runaway, do you think it's an opportunity for the Penguins to throw a little, a couple of new things in to see how they work, and also for Coach to kind of see some intricate little things in film that his teams are either executing or not executing when the game is a runaway like that?
Yeah, I think that there's an opportunity to do that, and you don't want to get ahead of yourself. I think Coach is going to, play his main players as long as possible in this game. I don't think you're going to feel real good until you're up, pretty handily late in the game, just given that it's tournament time. But if you can come out and play well and get a big lead, hopefully you can rest a little bit of your players. I know he was pleased in the first game against them earlier this year that they were able to get some of their subs in the game and rest some of their starters. There's been a lot of pressure put on, Chelsea Olsen and McKenna Peters and Mary Dunn and Neko Obiizer. Players like that have played a lot of minutes this year. There's a lot put on them. They're carrying a heavy load for this team. So, I think if you can sneak some rest for him at the end of this game, especially in tournament time when you're going to turn around. If you win tonight, you're going to turn around and play again on Tuesday, and it's going to move quick, and there's going to be, game after game here in tournament play. So if you could sneak some extra rest for your players and then work on some things and get some of those backups in the game, to get some experience in case you need them, I think that's all positive, but got to take care of business first.
Dre Smith joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. So often we see benches get a little bit closer to the vest, where the bench goes from 9 players down to 8 or 7 in the postseason. And I'm looking at this team, in the games against Cleveland State, Youngstown State was able to play 10 deep and 11 deep in the 2 games. Do you anticipate John Barnes cutting the bench down a little bit now that we're in the postseason, or is he continuing, or will he continue, I should say, to throw out the 5 and 6 deep in the bench?
My opinion, I think it's going to be a pretty tight rotation. I don't think that you're going to see, an extended amount of players. I think he's going to stick to the players that have gotten them here, that have got a lot of minutes. I think you're going to see a lot of the starting 5. You're going to see Maddie Shires, Malia Magestro, maybe Emma Van Zandt for a little bit off the bench to spell Mary and NECA, but I really think that's about it. You might see a little bit of Taylor Pettit for defensive situations, but for the most part, I think I think Kelsey's going to play a lot of minutes. I think McKenna's going to play a lot of minutes. Mary and NECA, Shires and Magestro, and that's really going to be it. I don't think you're going to see too many players off of the bench here today because they understand that it's win or go home. Everything is on the line right here, and this team feels like they have a chance to make a deep run in the tournament. They played well against IUPUI, one of the best teams in the league. They played well against Wright State, who's the number 1 seed. So they feel like they can beat anyone, but it's just getting there game to game. So, I think Coach is going to play it pretty close to the vest here today. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of extra players off the bench. I think it's going to be a lot of minutes for the main players, and then we'll see where that takes us.
That being said, I am sure that there is a point of emphasis on bench energy and making sure your players that are on the bench really get into the game and really bring some energy into this team, especially with no fans on the court.
Oh, absolutely. And I've talked a lot about that this year with some of the players. And I got a chance to talk with Gabby Lepardis this week, who is a sophomore guard on the team who suffered an injury earlier this year and is out for the year. But, she talked about that. She said, even though I'm not playing, those of us on the bench, really take it to heart, that we have to bring the energy from the bench. Without the fans, you don't have that extra motivation. So the team has really tried to do that. I got a chance to sit next to our bench at IUPUI earlier this year and really felt the energy from that group. They cheer every time something good happens. They're building up their teammates, encouraging them, making sure that they have energy. And that's been key this year. I think the bench has done a great job at providing that energy. I think all teams are trying to manufacture that, given that there's no fans. Especially in tournament time, with it being a new season and every game being win or go home, that's going to be even more important. There's no doubt about it.
Dre, as we take a look at the way the tournament is set up, there's a better than average chance that Youngstown State is going to wind up playing at Milwaukee or at Green Bay. And interestingly enough, those are the 2 teams that Youngstown State missed out on playing when they were down with COVID. I'm sure that Coach Barnes would much rather see a team, in a perfect world, he'd much rather see a team that he's already played this year.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously with the way everything played out, our first 4 games were supposed to be against, 2 against Green Bay, 2 against Northern Kentucky. We weren't scheduled to play Milwaukee. So you haven't got to look at some of these teams. So it is interesting. I think there's probably positives and negatives. On the positive side, they haven't seen you either, so they don't have that game experience to figure out what they did wrong and right against you, and they try to develop a game plan. But at the same time, you haven't seen them. You haven't got to see the way matchups work out and the way you match up against a certain team. So it creates new challenges for sure, and it does look like if the seeds would hold tonight, that we would go to Milwaukee, and if not Milwaukee, it would likely be Green Bay. So, 2 really good teams. Milwaukee got a share of the regular season title, in the Horizon League. They started off league play, I believe, 12-0 before going on a little bit of a losing skid. But Green Bay is playing really good basketball right now. I believe they've won about 5 in a row, playing really, really well. Green Bay's won 6 in a row. Milwaukee's won 3 in a row. So that's going to be a big challenge. If we can take care of business tonight, which I expect us to do, I think we are the better team tonight. And if we take care of business, it sets up a pretty interesting second-round matchup against a couple of teams that we haven't seen. So I think that creates even more excitement, too, given that you haven't played them. I think that it's wide open. I think that's the one thing looking at this tournament, guys, that there's a number of teams that can win this tournament. Obviously, at the top, Wright State and Milwaukee, Green Bay, Oakland's playing well. IUPUI has the player of the year. They're one of the best teams. Cleveland State had just won 6 in a row. YSU has shown they can play with anybody. Northern Kentucky got off to a 6-0 start in league play. So, you have 7 or 8 teams here that feel like they can beat anybody in the tournament. So that creates a really exciting situation, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun starting tonight.
We asked our high school coaches about the changes in practice during tournament time because, of course, in high school, your games become a lot more spread out during tournament time than the regular season. College, not so much. You still have a week to prepare for your next opponent after the games you play. But does the practice and the preparation change at all in tournament time to kind of change? Does anything change about the practices and the way they're run?
Not that I'm aware of. I think the team has stayed to a pretty consistent approach. I think coach is a creature of habit, and the team is as well. I think that they want to try and keep things as normal as possible. I know they practiced all week this week getting ready for Thursday. Where it gets interesting is if you win tonight and then things, become a little bit different. You're going to have to turn around and hit the road on a Monday, fly out to Wisconsin, more than likely to prepare for a game there on Tuesday. And then after that, you would likely, if you would win that game, you'd be in Indianapolis for the semifinals. So that's where it starts getting tricky with the travel and the quick turnarounds. I think it's going to be a bigger challenge for these teams. Less days in between games, less time to prepare. So I think everything's been pretty normal this week. You've had most of the week to prepare and get ready for tonight. But now things start moving quickly if you win tonight. You're only going to have a couple of days to get ready for your next opponent and get on the road and then, really go to battle, in the second round. So, and it creates a lot of challenges on the staff, the logistics of everything. Right now we don't know if we win tonight where we're heading. We don't know, when we're going to be leaving, when flights are going to be, where flights are going to be going, what the logistics are. For me, I'm in the Tier 2 travel party, so I don't know exactly where I'm going to be heading and how I'm going to get there and rental cars and flights and all of these different things. So it's a crazy time, but wouldn't want it any other way. And hopefully YSU can win as many games as possible here, and we can get a trip to Indianapolis for the semifinals and hopefully a championship game.
Earlier in the week, the Horizon League passed out some hardware, and I think this is the world's worst secret. NECA Obiizer, the freshman of the year. I mean, who the hell were they going to give the award to, for God's sake?
It's the world's easiest game of Guess Who is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. She gets not only the freshman of the year, she gets third team All Horizon League along with Chelsea Olsen. Mary Dunn given second team honors. Some really good hardware passed out to the YSU women.
Oh, yeah. Really proud of those 3 individuals. NECA Obiizer obviously getting freshman of the year, as you mentioned, named to the all-freshman team and the Horizon League third team. Chelsea Olsen got named to the third team as well, and then Mary Dunn was named to the second team. So, 3 players getting recognized. That was a league high. No other team had more than 2 players recognized on the all-league teams. And obviously NECA was extremely deserving. No one else was going to get that award, as you mentioned. Led all-league freshmen in scoring and rebounding and field goal percentage, ranks in the top 20 in the country in scoring and rebounding among freshmen. So just a stellar season for her. And the scary thing is I think everyone sees that she's just going to get better and better. As good as she's been this year, averaging over 15 points per game and over 8 rebounds a game, I think there's still so much room for growth for her. I think that her talent it jumps out at you when you watch her, but you can see that she's still getting used to the college game, I think, in some ways. it's exciting to realize how good she could be next year and moving forward. So obviously a bright future there. And Mary Dunn, great, happy for her after missing most of last year with an injury to come back and be healthy and play well and continue to rack up accolades. The offense really flows through her on the offensive end. Everything that YSU does is through the post play. So there's a lot of pressure on Mary and NECA to be really good night in and night out. And they've answered that challenge and done it and been great all year long. And then, Chelsea Olsen has been leading the league in assists for the second time in her career. And it speaks to her versatility. She's averaging almost 10 points per game, 5 assists per game, almost 5 rebounds per game, and she just continues to do a little bit of everything for this team. And she really runs the show. You got to have a player on your team that gets everybody organized, gets you into the plays that you want to run, gets the ball where it needs to go. And she's also stepped up this year and become one of our top defensive players. She's really taken on the challenge of guarding the other team's best perimeter players. She did a great job against Mariah White last week against Cleveland State. So Chelsea's really doing a little bit of everything on the floor, and she's done that her whole career. So I'm just really excited to see them all get honored, and really their team awards too. That's what Coach Barnes mentioned to me this week, was that, they're individual awards, but without the rest of the team and other players around you that help you get those buckets and help you get assists and help you play well, those awards don't happen. So I think the whole team is very proud of those three and take it as a team award.
Yeah, and I think Coach nailed on the head. I mean, when you get individual awards, they are team awards because you can't do the things that you do without the other other 4 girls on the floor with you. When you talk about Chelsea Olsen and you talked about her versatility, this has been a defensive episode. Every coach we've talked about has talked about defense, and we talk about her defense and what makes her defense kind of special. I think we talk about her offense ability so much that maybe her defense goes under the radar a little bit.
No, you're right. First of all, at 5'10", she's long and athletic, and I think that helps her. She's rangy on the defensive end. She's able to defend multiple positions. She can guard the point guard like she did last week with Mariah White, but she's big enough and long enough to slide down and guard, a 3 or a 4 player. Her long arms and length allow her to get a lot of blocks. She had a career high 5 blocks on Saturday against Cleveland State. And she leads the team and ranks 6th in the league with 16 blocks on the season. So she does a great job going up and contesting shots and blocking without fouling. She's got a team-high 20 steals. She's instinctive. She has that ability to find, creases in the defense and get steals and poke the ball away and get us in transition and turn that into points on the other end. She's done a big job defensively. And like I said, she stepped up this year and taken on the challenge of guarding the other team's best player, and that takes a lot of energy. When you're guarding the best player on the other team, the defensive end takes a lot out of you, and yet she still has to run the team and make shots and get assists and get rebounds on the other end. So it speaks to her level of unselfishness as well. She's an unselfish player. That's what Coach always talks about with her. Is she's willing to do whatever it takes to help the team win, and she's continued to show that this year. She's going to go down as one of the best players in Youngstown State history, definitely one of the best all-around players. She's currently the only Division I player in the country with career totals of at least 1,000 points, 650 rebounds, and 350 assists. That's pretty amazing, to have those numbers in 3 different departments and then also do what she does on the defensive end of the floor. So Chelsea's had a phenomenal career, and we're excited to have her back for another year.
Dre, before we let you go, and we're speaking with YSU women's basketball broadcaster Dre Smith on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Rob and I talked a little bit about this yesterday. The men's basketball guy, Rob Schmidt, they're really lengthening this Horizon League tournament out for COVID purposes. Tonight we're going to play a game, assuming Youngstown State, the men and the women both win. You won't play another game until Tuesday, 5 days later. Assuming that Youngstown State's men and women can win that game, you won't play another game for another 6 days. They're really lengthening this thing out and then getting the conference semifinals into the Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis, where you would play a back-to-back game on a Monday and a Tuesday. Lengthening this tournament out, I got to imagine that this can really help Youngstown State, not just the women's team, but the men's team as well. This could really be a beneficial thing for the Penguins.
No, I think you're right, and I think it helps in a couple of different ways. Not only do you get time to prepare, get home and reset and prepare for your next opponent and have a couple of days of practice and put in, full game plans, but you also get a chance to heal up a little bit. At this point in the season, everybody has nagging injuries. Coach Barnes talked this week about how Maddie Shires has been dealing with, kind of a back and a neck issue that's kind of been lingering and hurting. And so that's an example of all players have little nicks and bruises and things that are bothering them at this point of the season. So to have that length of time in between games is really big. It allows you to rest up. It allows you to prepare, get treatment, and be ready for the next round. So, I think it is an advantage for all teams, but for Youngstown State especially. Obviously on the men's side, Darius Quisenberry has dealt with an ankle injury all year long. It'll be great to have him fresh heading into the tournament. Naz Bohannon's played a lot of minutes, carried a big weight for this team this year. So, and on the women's side, you have a lot of players that have played a lot of minutes. So, I think that's an advantage for Youngstown State, and I think the biggest advantage is you get to put in game plans. Normally in a tournament setting, you're playing one day, you're turning around and playing the next day. If you win, you're playing the next day or 2 days later, and it's a really quick turnaround. You just don't have a chance to put in a full game plan. You really just have to do a walkthrough and a shoot around and kind of go play. But this year you can really study your opponent, study the film, figure out what you want to do and put a game plan together. And, with coaches like Coach Calhoun and Coach Barnes, who are really good strategists, really good film studiers, really good, coaches at putting in game plans, I think that does give Youngstown State an advantage heading into the tournament.
Hey, Dre, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you in about a couple of hours, although I'm not allowed on the floor, so... they're taking this really seriously. Us peons are going to be upstairs, and you folks on the floor get to be on the floor. I'm not allowed down there, I guess.
Ron's going to be the one waving at you from high up in the air.
Yeah.
You know what? Well, we had to get tested this week, so it's when you got to deal with that, sometimes it's I don't know where I'd rather be, but no, we're excited and. Looking forward to seeing you, and hopefully we have a couple of good games tonight. And I'm going to go rest my voice because I got a couple of broadcasts I got to do. So it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, it's going to be a long night for you. Drink plenty of hot tea with lemon or honey in it in the hot tea. All right.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Brother, always a pleasure. Dre Smith, voice of the YSU women's basketball team, doing double duties because the Horizon League. And I kind of agree with this. I mean, you can't simulcast games. Now, we do simulcast the men's game in the regular season. The games are simulcast both on terrestrial radio as well as ESPN+. They're not allowing that.
So basically, for people that don't know what that means, it means that the radio broadcast is just put on the ESPN video.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so it's the radio all year long has been simulcast, where it's on terrestrial radio as well as ESPN+. Right. The Horizon League has said, no, you're only going to be allowed to do, if you're going to do the TV, you do the TV. If you're going to do the radio, you got to get someone else to do the radio. It's going to be a separate broadcast. So we've been doing separate broadcasts for women's game at home. But we are not doing separate broadcasts. In the regular season, we were not doing separate broadcasts for the men. But tonight, Dre's going to be doing two radio calls.
I hate to speak it into existence, but I wonder if the extra days between games are in case a team has a little bit of a COVID issue and they have time to rearrange their roster or whatever.
I'll guarantee it.
Because I really don't want to see a team have like one or two positive tests and sorry about your luck, you're done and out of the tournament.
Yeah.
And
and I think that's one of the reasons.
Days are like, hey, you can test the rest of your team, quarantine the people that tested positive, and if everyone else is good and you don't have an outbreak, then we can keep playing.
Yeah, because in normal circumstances, they're going 4 straight days where you're playing the first round game, and then the quarterfinals are the next day. Then the next day, you're going to be going to Indianapolis for the semifinals, and then the fourth day, you're playing the conference championship game, which, if you get your long bench involved in the first couple of games, that can make sure that your players are fresh for the semifinals and the finals.
It takes away the big advantage that the teams that have a bye have, because the big advantage in that format was we only have to play 3 days in a row instead of 4 days in a row.
Oh, yeah.
And now that's not there. You still get to play one less game. It's still an advantage, but it's not nearly as a weighted advantage as it used to be.
No, definitely not. Now, you get a home game, which you were getting a home game anyway in the quarterfinals because the semifinals and the finals are in the neutral site. Now, I think a few years ago, everything was in one neat and tidy place in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. But
yes.
But they've now moved it to Indianapolis, and at the Farmers Coliseum, they're just allowing the semifinals and the finals to be played at the Coliseum. Now, can they move those games to the quarterfinals? I'm sure you could probably, and maybe next year, if and when COVID is kicked to the curb and thrown to hell where it belongs, maybe we get back to the quarterfinals. Now everything is going to be at the Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis, and we'll have a ridiculous amount of games played all day and all night long in the quarterfinals, and then the semifinals, and then the finals. We'll see.
Hopefully.
But this year, I think it benefits Youngstown State. It certainly benefits the coaches that are more of a strategic coach. And I think that Youngstown State has two very good tactical strategists. Did I just say that? Wow, I just sounded professorial.
You got to do the Superman glasses up.
Yes, I just sounded a little professorial, if you will. Bip, bip, cheerio. Coach Calhoun and Coach Barnes are both.
The other thing is,
they're good strategists.
Dre talked about it. They're not a particularly deep team when it comes. There's a little bit of a drop off between the first 2 or 3 off the bench and the rest of the team. So since they're not a particularly deep team, they have a little bit more rest and they don't have to use as much as their bench.
Yeah, and if you go 7 or 8, now if you blow a team out, you can play everybody, and hopefully they're able to do that tonight. And again, the Mastodons have only won one game all year.
You don't have to knock if you say hopefully, by the way.
No,
because hopefully is not stating the fact. If you said they're going to roll tonight, then you knock.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
but
knock.
If you just say hopefully.
Listen, I knock for the sake of making sure that the basketball god, small g,
but you don't believe in the broadcast
me.
Jinx, but you believe in knocking on the wood. Okay.
Well, I mean, look, there are no broadcast gods, small g. But there are plenty of basketball gods, small g, or football gods, small g, or baseball gods.
Definitely baseball gods.
Yeah.
I've seen that ball come out of the foul line and this drop an inch past the foul line. You're thinking that's a baseball god, right?
Yeah,
there.
that's small g.
There's no other way.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to be smite by any of the small g gods in the sport.
That's some angels in the outfield stuff going on out there, man. The ball dropped
right down on the line. Got a little bit of chalk on the ball.
Like the ones that you couldn't actually go out there and drop it in a better spot. Those are the ones that frustrate me if it doesn't go my way.
There you go. So that's why I'm always knocking. So I'm not going to be smite by the
always knocking the opportunity.
That's it. We'll take a time out and hopefully be back with more of a Thursday edition of Running Point.
You might just cut and run.
Well, no, not me. I mean, and DJ's 35,000 feet in the air. It's not like he's going to be going.
He's calling Baton Rouge. Homage to Garth Brooks.
Yeah, I gave him a list of things to avoid in that area.
I told them, you better say hi to Mike the Tiger for me, because when I went down there, I had the worst. They were in between tigers, so I didn't get to meet Mike the Tiger.
Okay.
Because I think the old
Who names their tiger Mike, by the way?
I don't. It's been Mike for a long time.
I don't get that. It's
better than Ugga.
Well, Ugga makes sense, though.
I know it's UGA, but I mean, Ugga is like ugly.
Yeah, well, but it makes sense because it's UGA. I mean, but Mike is not, who
Mike
the hell is Mike?
Well, they couldn't do Tony. It's already taken.
Well, that's true, I guess. Yeah,
so,
the other Tony the Tiger.
Right.
They're mediocre. I mean, that's what Alabama should do.
Point is, I was so excited to see this tiger habitat and get to meet Mike the Tiger. And we're in between tigers. We're working on getting a new one because, unfortunately, the other tiger that they had died of cancer. I didn't even know tigers get cancer. Apparently they do, and cancer sucks.
Yeah.
Because now I didn't get to see Mike the tiger. I saw
So
his
all these
his
tigers-
habitat, but I never saw it.
Are all these tigers named Mike?
Yeah, so they're on just like Uga, they're on Mike, whatever 7 or 8.
I need to do some research as to what the hell Mike has to do with the.
Well, come on, what does Albert have to
LSU?
do with Florida? I mean, their mascot's named Albert.
Albert the what?
Albert the Gator.
Albert the Gator.
The Gator. It's Albert.
All right.
You didn't know that?
I didn't. I have no clue. I didn't even know that they had a live gator.
No, not. But their mascot.
Yeah.
The guy that wears the gator suit.
Yeah.
Is named Albert for some weird reason.
We don't name our leprechauns at Notre Dame. It's just.
Well, that's because you don't want to get in trouble with the Irish stereotype.
He's the guy that dresses like a leprechaun.
You can't
I
name
don't
him
know.
McNally or something to get in trouble with the people that would be.
Well, I mean,
that's some Irish stereotype.
Yeah,
right
if you named him, it would be Flanagan.
A Flanagan, man.
Yeah, it's Flanagan. That's a Flanagan, the Irishman over there. Yeah.
Flanagan isn't a first. Well, I guess neither is McNally. I'm trying to think of Irish first names now.
Yeah, I mean Flanagan is all about the
Flanagan.
Irish.
Come here, laddie. I got to teach you the.
There's no Blarney here, Flanagan. It's all about the Irishman, but they don't name their leprechauns at Notre Dame. It's just.
Are you sure that leprechaun does not have a name?
This is the guy that's dressed as a leprechaun.
Are you 100% sure they don't have a name for him? Because I think almost every mascot has some kind of name.
I'm
like the Hilltopper has a name.
91% sure that you don't have a name for a leprechaun. But you know what? During the break,
let's look it up.
Let's look it up because Google's never wrong. I mean that's it's on the internet, so it's obviously true. I don't know about that, but no, I mean we'll look it up. I'm almost positive that Notre Dame does not name their leprechauns.
Well, it's the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, it's the Fighting Irish. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
We get into enough trouble saying the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I mean, people have said, why do they have to fight? Well,
because there's a potato famine, and if we don't fight, we'll starve.
Oh, wow. Really? Wow. 330-886.
The Notre Dame IRA.
Yeah, 0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business.
Threw some Ireland history at you right there.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Didn't think that you'd get a history lesson.
We always throw something at people, whether it's a history lesson or.
But in the beginning of the show it was speed, and now it's Irish history.
Well, movie. Oh God. Well, not movie, but what's the word that I'm looking for?
We weren't doing speed. We were talking about the movie Speed.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And what was it? It kind of smacks of the conversation last week where we were talking about how much Bill Walton does the nature's
I don't do as much weed as
I don't do
Bill
nearly as much as Bill Walton. Wait, hold on a second. Time out. This is one of those 30-second timeouts. What the hell did you just say? No, you don't do any of that stuff. Not as much. Any. Yeah, not as much. It's you don't do that. Not I don't do as much. No. You don't do any of it. We'll take a timeout and look and see if our leprechaun is named.
I know my mascot's named because it's called Buzz. We got Buzz the Yellow Jacket. So
his name is Buzz. Mm-hmm. Well, there's original. I would have thought you smart kids would have named him something.
We were too busy. We were too busy solving the world's problems through engineering to name a mascot something funny.
This is true.
We were too busy graduating 2/3 of our graduates becoming millionaires.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually 2/5. There's a stat out there that's like
2/5 or 2/3.
2/5. I think it's 2/5 of people that graduate from Georgia Tech end up making $1 million or more
with an engineering degree.
Right.
It's pretty solid. Yeah. I mean, money's not everything.
No, but I mean, when you can say it, that's a great recruiting tool.
That's not a bad recruiting tool. Yeah.
It probably includes the NFL players that go and make.
There you go. There you go.
Calvin Johnson's in that thing.
There you go. All right, we'll take a time. I'll be back with more. Stick around.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience and comprehensive wealth strategy, we assist our clients attain their goals. Call 330-965-0000 888-338-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit wrswealthadvisors.com. Good luck, athletes.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy efficient experts.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a brand new or slightly used automobile, Greenwood Chevrolet is the place you need to go. Give them a chance to earn your business.
By the way, as promised, we did our research during break, and the Notre Dame mascot is just proper noun, the leprechaun, capital T, capital L. So the leprechaun.
Kind of like the Ohio State University.
Well, they have a mascot. It's his name though. Is Brutus.
It's Brutus the Buckeye. Yeah. That's that's their
now.
Their
here's
guy.
the thing: the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are one of 6 NCAA bowl subdivision football teams whose nickname does not end in an S.
Yes.
And maybe, to either at the end of the show or tomorrow, your listeners can call in and try to get the other 5 because it's you gotta rack your brain around it.
Stanford is one.
Well, okay, now the other 4.
Yeah.
We'll just see if Ron can get it right now. We got the time.
Well, no,
let's go.
I'll,
Stanford's
off
one
the
because
top
they're
of
the
my
Cardinal.
head, Stanford is one. So
Right. See at 2. I think there's 6.
yeah,
Pretty sure.
Okay, so that's 2. We'll get to the other 4 at another time. I wanted to ask you because there's all kinds of different talk with the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's been talk for the last couple of weeks. Will Ben Roethlisberger come back? If he comes back, how are they going to refigure his contract and whatnot? For me, the Steelers are allegedly one of 6 or 7 teams that are a direct threat to the throne of the two-time AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. But I don't think they're the threat, nor do I think Pittsburgh can win another Super Bowl with Roethlisberger at quarterback next year.
If the options are Roethlisberger or Dwayne Haskins next year, I think they're much more of a threat with Big Ben as their quarterback than they are without him. I think Dwayne Haskins like we talked about it when they signed him, he needs someone to grow him a little bit.
Sure.
And Big Ben can be someone that can do that.
Is he a better quarterback, though, than Mason Rudolph? Because I don't think Haskins is.
The Steelers obviously think he is because they brought him on. I mean, why would you sign him if you believed in Mason Rudolph?
Yeah. That's
right?
true. Yeah.
I've said this before. I'm on the record of saying this. I think the Steelers, if they matched up with Kansas City, would be one of the biggest threats because I just don't like the way that Kansas City matches up with Pittsburgh.
Mainly because they
Their
can get to the
defense,
quarterback.
They can run the ball. I didn't want to see him in the playoffs. I was more than happy that the Browns beat him.
Yeah.
So I think the Steelers are a legitimate threat with Big Ben as quarterback.
Well, I mean, look, I don't think they're. I
know
don't
the
think
Ravens
they win
I don't think the Ravens, as they are right now, beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. But just because we've seen them play each other 3 times, it's been not even close all 3 times.
Yeah.
I just think that the matchup's not great. Matchups are important.
Yeah.
And I think the Steelers would match up pretty well with Kansas
and they
City.
do because they can get to the quarterback without blitzing.
Right.
If you play a team that can get to a quarterback without blitzing, they give Kansas City problems, which is why the J.J. Watt signing to Buffalo would be that much better for the Bills because now you'd finally have someone that can get to a quarterback without blitzing. Now, having said that, a friend of the show, Aditi Kinkabwala with the NFL Network, brought this to the table. When the Steelers run for 100 yards or more, Ben Roethlisberger has a career record of 106 wins, 20 losses, and 1 tie. That is an .839 winning percentage.
Yeah.
When they don't, he is 50-54, a .481
And a lot
winning
of those games
percentage.
came this year because they did not run for 100 yards too many times this season.
Yeah, since 2018.
But that's kind of a misleading because I bet every quarterback's records are a little bit better when their running game is working.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but it's dramatically better for Big Ben.
Absolutely.
It's not a knock for him. It's just the way that offense has been built. They need to smash mouth run the ball.
Since 2018, the Steelers are 12-0-1 when the Steelers run for over or 100 or better yards per game. When they run under 100 yards, the Steelers are 9-11. Now that's since 2018, which is pretty interesting because the 2 quarterbacks that I will put up against Mr. Roethlisberger are the 2 quarterbacks that will be entering year number 4. Josh Allen of my Buffalo Bills and Baker Mayfield of the Cleveland Browns. Josh Allen is 7-10 since 2018 as a starting quarterback when the Buffalo Bills rush for under 100 yards. 7-10. Now, he went 2-0 in the playoffs this year. And defeated Baltimore. No, 2-0 when they ran for over 100 yards. When they ran for under 100 yards.
So they ran for over 100 yards.
They ran for over 100 yards against Kansas City. He was 2-0 when they did not run for 100 yards. Baker Mayfield's record though is 3-9, which is
once again, the Browns' offense is so, because they have the 1-2 punch of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
It is so key to run the ball for them.
Absolutely it is. It absolutely is. But it also speaks to, okay, yes, Mayfield made a ridiculously good, went from year one where he was up here, year two he was down here, year three he was back up here. And now he finally gets the opportunity to have a second year under a familiar offensive coordinator, under a familiar head coach. And I think this is going to do him well. But is Baker Mayfield really the answer? Because when the going gets tough, he can't beat anyone of substance. The 3 wins that Mayfield has when the Browns ran for under 100 yards, the Bengals twice and the New York Jets. 2 jabronis in the National Football League. Roethlisberger and Josh Allen they're not good. They're not at 500, but I don't think there's going to be a quarterback that's at 500 when your team doesn't run for 100 yards or more. But Roethlisberger, look, 9-11 is not bad. If you don't run for 100 yards, if you don't run for 100 yards, 9-11 isn't bad.
And that's what, the last two seasons?
That's since 2018, so the last 3 years.
But he wasn't there for almost the whole season last year.
Well, he was only there for 1 game and change.
So basically 2 seasons, that's 18 games out of 2 seasons that they didn't run for 100 yards, and it's 9-11. So on the positive note, you get, hey, we won 9 of those games. On the negative note for Pittsburgh, man, that's 18 games where we haven't run the ball well.
20, because it was 9-11.
20. Yeah. My math. Georgia Tech fan, not a Georgia Tech grad.
Yeah, there you go.
Not the engineer. 20 games where they did not run 100 yards. That's 16-16. That's more than half your games in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So
now add into the fact that they just lost their center because of retirement. Villanueva's probably gone via free agency. You're going to have to replace your offensive line. So I'll ask again, do you honestly think Roethlisberger can lead this team to a championship in 2021? Because if not, what the hell are you doing? Why are you going to be paying this guy all kinds of money if you don't believe he's not going to be the guy in 2021?
They can't pay him what he's due this year. They have to rework his contract because he's due for $41 million.
Yes.
As it stands.
Yes.
There's no way they can afford that and keep anyone around him. So they have to rework his contract. But if they can get him cheap, why wouldn't you? He's in Hall of Famer. If he wants to stay, how are you going to go tell Big Ben, nah, we'd rather have Dwayne Haskins be our starter?
I want to rip the Band-Aid off right now and say, you know what? I have a better chance. Short term, we're going to suck. I get it. Short term, we're going to suck. But I want to rip the Band-Aid off right now because you have absolutely no chance with the AFC as it is right now. If they sign Roethlisberger, you got no chance to go to the Super Bowl.
I wouldn't say that.
You're not getting past Kansas City. You're not getting past Indianapolis. You're not getting past Buffalo. You're not getting past Baltimore. You're not getting. You might be the third best team in your own division, depending on how well the Browns play this year. I just rip the Band-Aid off right now. Take the hard salary cap and let's improve our offensive line and go from there.
I know the Steelers' tailspin this year, but they still started 11-0.
I get that.
And
I get that.
If they make some improvements on the offensive line and run a little bit better, you got to imagine if they have Ben Roethlisberger for cheap, they can keep the weapons. You got to imagine with that defense as well, they're going to be a legitimate threat. I don't see why they wouldn't be.
Yeah, but in order to improve your offensive line, you got to spend money that you're spending for Roethlisberger.
You can get that in the draft.
No, I get that. You're going to be drafting in the low mid-20s, but I get that. I mean,
and like I said, if Ben Roethlisberger reworks his contract where he's not getting paid a lot of money at all, then it won't eat up a lot of your salary cap. So you will be able to go sign an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I would just as soon rip the Band-Aid off and let's go here. Let's see what we can do. But it's for me, you're going to have to get a solid running back. And interestingly enough, Carolina might be looking to get away from one Christian McCaffrey. What do you give up for a Christian McCaffrey?
See, Christian McCaffrey is great in Carolina. I don't know if he fits Mike Tomlin's system. I know you make him fit because he's that talented.
Sure.
But, like, when was the last time a Steelers running back was that type of player where he could go out in the flat and catch a lot of balls and get a lot of balls from scrimmage instead of, like, I'm hard-nosed, I'm going to run right at you.
Yeah.
When you think of Steelers running game, you think of that.
You're thinking of that, absolutely.
I mean, you don't think of... But Ben Roethlisberger's getting a little bit old. Maybe he needs a running back that can go off into the flat and be a safety net for
Le'Veon
short
Bell.
passes.
That was the last one.
You're right. Le'Veon Bell was really good out of the backfield.
Le'Veon Bell, because it sure as hell wasn't the bus.
No.
And then Franco, God bless him, he wasn't a very dependable catching running back. He was nice, but he wasn't.
Well, he had the immaculate one, so
yeah, and
probably one of the best unbelievable catches if you believe it was a catch.
Yeah.
Some people don't. Sorry, Raiders fans.
Well, I mean, not just that.
There's no camera.
The clip of Villapiano was pretty ridiculous.
No camera angle that shows one that it hit someone else before Franco Harris touched it clearly, and there's no angle that shows it hit the ground.
Well, there is, but it's no longer around.
Okay.
Yeah, NBC's film kind of disappeared. So. I
Today
mean,
on Conspiracy Theories for Sports Fans.
Well, look, I mean, the clip of Villapiano was pretty much there, but we'll pass on that because it was a hell of a. I was there. I wasn't there. I watched it as a kid on NBC. It was on a Saturday because the Browns and Dolphins were on Sunday. That was unbelievable.
I mean, that's one of those ones like the Poland game last night where they just snatched victory out of the hands of absolute defeat, and it just comes. You're thinking like, how did this happen? Almost. I'm not going to bring up some painful memories, but there are some painful memories for Bills fans.
There's painful memories of.
There's painful memories for Kansas City too. So,
yes.
So I'm not going to bring up any painful memories for the both of us, even though I could, because
wide right is how the hell did this happen? Well, you didn't get close enough.
People forget that like before Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City's playoff resume was full of absolute heartbreaking, I can't believe this just happened losses.
Yep.
So
yeah,
I mean I get a lot. Oh well, you're on top. It's so easy to be on top. Well, I went through about 20 years of my life with the playoff losses just being gruesome, like Andrew Luck picking up his own fumble and jumping into the end zone bad.
Yeah.
Or Mariota catching his own pass and going in for a touchdown bad.
Yeah. There you go. Speaking of which, we're out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Power Hour is coming up next. I'm off to Beagley to do a couple of games, and hopefully the YSU men and women do well tonight. That'll do it for the show. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Back tomorrow, noon to 3. Run